Quelle victoire pour les Francais et quel cauchemar pour l'Irlande. Oh, what a disaster. Quelle catastrophe. Quel dommage. What a pity. What a nightmare. All of the above. But yeah, bravo. Allez les Bleus. They deserved their win thoroughly. And you know me, I'm the first to defend Ireland, but I cannot defend them in that one. No, well done to the French. Bravo. Not bravo for Lenny Nucci and his singing. Did anybody pick up on that? I just had to join in. I was watching a video from Tim from Egg Chasers, and when they're singing La Marseillaise and they're really going for the Marshall, Marshall. It's a great national anthem, to be fair. Wish I knew all the words to it, but I know when Marshall comes on, Alfie loves that part. Alfie was singing along, and I was there going, "You traitor." But it's a good national anthem, in fairness. So yeah, on a more upbeat topic, seeing as the weather's shit outside, haven't been feeling great, and I don't want to be too miserable. I'll talk about that disaster of an Ireland performance. um, yeah, no, talk about Ireland getting absolutely annihilated, and that's not miserable, but we have to analyse it because I think we all knew this was coming. Apologies, by the way, everybody, for my delayed rugby video when I was going through the teams. I meant to get that uploaded 5 hours before I actually got it uploaded. It failed to upload, so I had to re-upload it, and it only actually got uploaded about 5 minutes into the Ireland game. So going through the squads as everyone's watching the game. My apologies, but let's dissect the game itself. And as I say, Quel cauchemar, poor Ireland. What a nightmare for Ireland. Um, while I thought they were going to lose, and they did, I didn't expect them to be so abysmal to watch. Just with nothing, no flow to attack or any sort of flair. I think if that game taught us anything, it's that Sam Prendergast is not the man at 10 for Ireland. I know people keep saying, oh, he's young, give him time to develop. He didn't have a great game. There were moments that he did where you were like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Like, I'll actually cut him some slack when he fly hacked the ball downfield. Um, I thought maybe just take the ball and run out with it, but then you've got the French ball attacking you, and I kind of thought to myself, okay, yeah, maybe just he should have taken it out, but I can see why he hacked it downfield as well. And actually, we were fine. We were actually perfectly fine for that. It's when we had to defend that we were terrible. Our backline just isn't good enough, and I've said it for a while now. Our forwards get most of our tries, and it's not good enough from our backline. Like you look at the lads that were facing Gary Ringrose and Stuart McCluskey, both well into their 30s now. Like Joran Moefana is 25. Nicolas Deporter is only 23. Gary Ringrose is 31 now, I believe, and Stuart McCluskey's 33. I'll have a look just to prove my point, but they should be way more experienced. I thought Matthew Jalibert had a great game. Antoine Dupont didn't even need to be on his best game for France to fire. Jalibert stepped up. I'd even go so far as to say that he put himself in contention for starting ahead of Roman and Tamac. I thought he was very unlucky to miss out after France lost in Twickenham to England, because it felt a bit unfair for Fabien Galtier to blame one player for them not winning when, in actual fact, he got the backline firing. He was getting passes, he was stepping, he was carrying with the ball, he put lovely kicks in behind. And, I felt like he was a scapegoat for just a poor French performance because they ripped through England and Twickenham last year and ended up losing in the last minute. Just to kind of blame that on Matthew Jalibert, I feel is a bit unfair to him. But he certainly justified his selection, as did Teo Atasogbe, who replaced Damien Penaud on the right wing, which is not easy shoes to fill, or boots in this case. I know that it's I'm a bit of a turncoat myself, but the fact that France won, Matthew Jalibert and Teo Atasogbe getting a try in the 80th minute, they won me some money at a bet on France to win. I just had a feeling Matthew Jalibert and Atasogbe would score. And then Prendergast intercepted that pass that would have gone straight into Atasogbe's hands. It was like, oh, you prick. And while Louis Bielbarré was the star of the show on the left wing, I thought Atasogbe was very impressive. There was one moment in the game, though, I think that highlights how pre-programmed Sam Prendergast is, and that's when Teo Watasogbe shot up out of the line in the second half and was waiting for the pass, the intercept. Prendergast looked across and still threw the pass. He had one thing in his mind, and I heard someone say, because I've been looking at all the different Facebook posts and Instagram posts, and what they've been saying is he looks afraid to be tackled, so he just throws the pass. And that's the only justification for throwing that pass, because you could see it wasn't on, and he still threw it, you know. His passing was far too slow. He never got the back line going. He made so many mistakes. Like when he made that intercept for that brilliant French break down the wing, when Levit Beep and Tomo Ramos got going, he actually did quite well. You know, he got back, he intercepted. Why not just go to the ground? He ran back over his own dead ball line and put his team under enormous pressure. Stupidly, you know. He caught it, go to the ground, just fall down or throw it to someone who can clear it. A brilliant 50-22 by Jamie Osborne, by the way. Excellent. Really good. But while I thought he was good most of the time under the high ball, too many kicks. I think that's the obvious thing. But also, maybe not necessarily too many kicks, but just not reading the palm back from France. Like they weren't great under the high ball. They weren't taking the ball in cleanly. They were palming it backwards. They weren't even trying to catch it. I felt like we should have copped onto that and put someone in behind to pick up on the loose ball. Because if you don't touch it, you're not offside. So have someone go in behind, waiting for the ball. And look, we just weren't good enough. I can't actually fault Ireland for effort, but we just simply were outclassed by a much better team who didn't even get into second gear. Every time they attacked, they were throwing the ball, you know, to the near side, to the outside. They were coming back infield. They were always changing it up so Ireland couldn't pinpoint what they were doing. Mikael Guiar, Guiar, either way, the big tall dude with the dreadlocks who wore number 5. What a game. I've spoken of how impressed I was by him. But after 50 minutes to get on the match, long the match, that'll just show you how much of an impact he had. Quel grand impact. Keep watching top 14, top 14, and you just hear the French commentators are gas because they just say "faire de plaquage." Oh, I also love when the French coaches or sorry the referees are calling the scrum flexion liege. It sounds a lot better than crouch, bind, set from a high pitched Englishman. Flexion liege. And I hope some French fans are watching because I know you guys love your rugby and you're quite good at it. Nicolas Deporter and Yoram Mofana really impressed me, though I feel like they didn't get the credit they deserve because they bossed the centres. Deporter, I saw him shrugging off Joshua Tuisova, the mighty Fijian, like it was nothing. You know, he's deceptively strong and he bounced fellas for fun, you know. And the thing with the French was when they were getting held up in contact, someone came in, Francois Crowe came in, ripped the ball out, then kept going. They were never static with the ball. They were always looking to get the offload. And I think they once again schooled Ireland on how to play heads up rugby. I feel like Sam Prendergast is a symptom of this set play that we have to have in Irish rugby. You know, the privately educated senior cup. It'll win you senior cups when you have a really good system, you know. But when you get to international level, the athletes simply aren't good enough to compete with the other athletes from France, from England. And that's because we're not picking them. We're picking lads who fit into a system perfectly. But I will give an honourable shout out to Nick Timoney and Michael Milne, who were very good when they came on. And I try for both of them. That'll just show you all you need to know. Our backline are not doing enough. They're not working hard enough. They've no creativity. The fact that 2 replacement forwards had to get our tries. Like Nick Timoney was excellent when he came on. Michael Milne as well. Very good. And that's actually another worrying thing because our pack didn't get dominated. You know, Jeremy Lockman and Thomas Clarkson were solid at prop. In fairness to them, Lockman, I don't think had a very bad game. Clarkson didn't really either. I don't think it was their fault. You can't blame them. I thought the forwards tried, but I thought the backline just didn't have enough go forward to give them. I was surprised by Tommy O'Brien, a player who's been outstanding for us, you know. His kicks were crap. They were across field as well. There was one where he kicked it right across the field and too far, and France just ran it back. That was the thing. Their heads up rugby was much better. They were looking to go quick, vite, 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 jouer, jouer, jouer. Like, they're a team that tires out, and I think we got to see that when Ireland got their two tries. Like France, they're not the fittest team in the world, but they're clever in the way they conserve their energy. Antoine Dupont put a lovely little chip kick in behind off a scrum in their own 22 just to ease the pressure. And I thought it was clever on his part because they just gone through a massive amount of work, but they did what they needed to do, and then they got a break. That's the thing. Like the replacements that are coming off the bench and only have to play 30 minutes, but they're huge, man. So obviously Fabian Galtier is being very smart, and he is a smart coach. He knows how to use his players to the best of their ability. You can't ask someone like Emmanuel Miafu and Reggie Montagne, who came on and they fucked shit up. Rodrigue Netty as well, who I think is 127 kilos. Montagne is 132 and Miafu is 145. That's a lot of weight coming through. And then you've got Ugo Oradu at second row, who's lighter. I saw him last year against Wales. What I was really impressed with was the amount of tackles he got through. He was just a machine. Lenny Nucci as well. He plays rugby a lot better than he sings. So, but he's a rugby player. That's what he's paid to do, and he does it very well. Anthony Jalonch and Francois Crowe got through a amount of the work, and Oscar Jegu, I'm very impressed with him. He had to play centre last year against Ireland, and he did it with flying colours. He scored a try as well, put in a massive tackle, knocked us back in our arse. France looked like they were enjoying their rugby. Ireland just didn't look like they were enjoying themselves at all. They looked like they were out to do a chore. They just don't look like they've got what it takes. They make stupid mistakes for a team that spends so much time drilling each other. And I've been in the Leinster Academy system where you're looking at how much they're drilling things into you and correcting you if you do stuff wrong. Why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. Really drilling it into you. And for all that, John McCarthy comes in and makes a stupid clean out, clearly from the side. Very good player, but that was idiotic. Prendergast throwing that pass, and he'll keep doing it even when it's not working. He has a pre-programmed move and he's doing it whether it works or not. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. I was criticising Finn Russell last year for throwing the ball to an Italian player, Juan Ignacio Rex. It's exactly what Prendergast did. The pass clearly wasn't on, but he felt like I have to throw the pass. Not going to say he cost us the game, but our scrum wasn't that bad. I only counted one scrum, and that was when Lockman and Clarkson were very tired, and Reggie Montagne, Rodrigue Netty, Piazza Movaca, Manuel Miafu, and Ugo Oradu had just come on. So there was a lot of pressure coming through. 145 and 132 kilos, 120. Jesus, yeah, 177 kilos coming through on you. Wow, 277 kilos. Just to put that into perspective, that's a lot of weight coming through just on the tight head side alone. And then Rodrigue Netty's a big man. Piano Movaca is bigger than he looks as well. He's heavier. He's lean, but he's got the weight behind him and he can move with it. Him and Netty are from New Caledonia, so the Polynesian muscle. Reggie Montagne isn't Polynesian, he's just pure French beef. Quel ground impact. He's a big boy, pure French muscle. And that's the scary thing as well. Like some of the players that aren't even starting for France are just as good, and they all bring something different. Like Michael Guillard gave something, and then Hugo Oradu brings that energy as well, that intensity. Charles Olivon, haven't even mentioned him. Great line out option, really light on his feet. Your second rower running a brilliant support line. Like both your second rows linking up for the third try, I think it was. Yeah, because Louis Bielbury and Matthew Jalibert got the first two, and then Olivon. He has such a really nice run. He's really elegant when he runs and has one hell of a beard. We can only dream of having a beard like that. But I want to analyse the game and go through each moment with you, just to show you how it's not difficult what France do. They have a big pack that grinds down the opposition, sucks in defenders, and then they look to get it wide. They look to play the ball off offloads because if you've got two men to tackle, and you can get a pass away, then you've sucked two defenders in, which will inevitably create overlaps. In rugby, you have a thing called the right, earn the right to go wide, which means suck in as many defenders as you can. Try and get your hands free. Try and get quick ball, which they got all night because there was always a man latching and clearing out for France, which meant that someone like Antoine Dupont doesn't even need quick ball to be effective, but he was getting it, so he was picking it up, going with it, and we were always backtracking. We were always on the back foot, and we got some good turnovers. Quelle and Doris got in over it brilliantly and ripped it back. Ty Byrne, I counted three turnovers that he got. He was impressive at the breakdown. He got one right in their half, right on their try line. He got over the ball, poached it brilliantly, and got in and got jackled. He was constantly a threat at the breakdown. I think Dan Shane got one as well. Like we were getting in over the breakdown, but our back line just looked shit out of ideas. You know, Alfie just joined me there, and my brother was asking me a few questions about the game, so I was happy to answer. But yeah, just getting back to the points I was making, it's not complicated what France were doing. Big men suck into defenders, you create overlaps, and then you get the ball out wide, and then the wingers score tries. Three of their tries were scored by wingers, one by a fly half, one by Charles Oliver, who is not like any type of forward you've seen before. He's always there providing a great assist. He runs great support lines. He always seems to be in the right place. Him and Mikhail Guillard doing brilliant work. And yeah, like what they do is not complicated. If you watch what France do, it's just having as many options as possible. When they run with the ball, they're throwing it inside, outside. You don't know who they're going to give it to. With Ireland, you know exactly who's getting the ball all the time. It's so predictable. What Ireland will do typically is throw it to a forward. The forward will go out the back door, and then we're already on the back foot. We've got nothing in attack. And last year, when I highlighted the top try scorers in Six Nations, Le Beep Beep Biel Barry was top of the list, who was a winger, led by some distance. And he's set to become one of the top 10 try scorers. I think he's set to go ahead of Damien Penaud, which would be some achievement. And if Atasogby can keep Penaud out, he can get up there as well. Like, looking at the top try scorers was Biel Barry for England. Ooh, England had it back as well. I'm just trying to think. Tommy Freeman, that's who it was, my man, handsome guy. He was up there. He did very well. He scored one against us as well. Then for Scotland, I think it was Van der Merwe. Van der Merwe or Darcy Graham, but it was a back anyway. Italy was Tommaso Menicello, I think it might have been. And then for us, it was Dan Sheehan. Like fair play to Dan Sheehan for what he does. He got 5 tries in 5 games, so fair fucks to him. I think it's pretty impressive. But our forwards are doing all the work. Our backs don't seem to be contributing anything. And I've said this before: the forwards decide who wins the game. The backs decide by how much. That's the phrase that we commonly use in rugby, but that doesn't seem to apply to Ireland because our forwards get all our tries. And if you don't believe me, Nick Timoney, one replacement forward, and then Michael Milne, another replacement forward, got both their tries yesterday when the backs looked shit out of ideas, shit out of luck. Against France last year, Cian Healy, amazingly, yeah. People are saying this. I hear this young fella, Cian Healy's quite good. No, he's well and truly retired. We'll remember him the way he was, a really great player for Ireland. But yes, the time has come, so we want to remember him in a good light. Cian Healy, Jack Conan, and Dan Sheehan got our tries against France last year. So, and then against England, Dan Sheehan. Dan Sheehan's getting a lot of them. We got a hat trick against Italy, but against England, him and Ty Byrne got our tries. And then Gibson Park and James Lowe got our tries got our backs tries. So our only backs that scored tries were our Kiwis, it has to be said. And then I'm just thinking, yeah, against Italy, it was Dan Sheehan got 3, and did Tyke Byrne get another one? I'm trying to think. It was a forward anyway that scored another try. Maybe I don't know. I can't remember. But when I counted it, there were more forwards. It was 8 forwards got our tries and only 5. So yeah, 8 forwards scored tries for us. We got 13, and then 5 backs. scored our tries, which is not good enough. You know, our forwards are doing all the hard yards, getting through a mountain of work as it is. Kelleher had one disallowed in the England game against Scotland. Jack Conan again got another one. And just thinking, yeah, Jack Conan scored against Scotland, and I know Backs did. Yeah, Calvin Nash got one. I'm going to be here trying to remember. I think maybe Gary Ringrose got another, and Tony Byrne score against Scotland as well. It was two forwards, two backs, but yeah, it's just not enough. You know, we're really not seeing enough from our back line. Usually, the back line get more tries than the forwards do, and that's not happening. And the reason it's not happening is because our forwards are getting through a mountain of work, usually against the bigger pack in France and England. They're having to try and suck in as many defenders as they can. But when they give the ball to the backs, they don't look ready for it. They don't look like they know what they're doing. And with all the box kicks that we had yesterday, France weren't going up and catching it cleanly or tucking it into the body. You know, with this new escort rule, which I think is good. It makes more of a fair contest. But instead of going up and catching it cleanly, they were palming it back. And they were doing this a lot. Even one of Ramos's catches wasn't a clean one. I don't know why. I thought you had to catch it cleanly to call a mark. He fumbled it quite a bit. They're not the most comfortable under the high ball at the best of times, and it was wet conditions. Bale Barry, he's not a tall man. When he gets the ball in hand, he's brilliant, but under a high ball, he did rip it back brilliantly. So did Ramos, which is kind of 50-50. I thought it was caught by an Ireland player and ripped by a French player. But c'est la vie. I can have very little complaints. The only thing I will say is that Carl Dixon checked both of Ireland's tries, whereas I did think there was a possible knock on for one of France's tries and borderline forward pass by Yoram Moefana in the lead up to BLBRE's first try. You could say it was flat, I guess, you know. Wouldn't have been sufficient to overturn it had he given a try, put it that way. I usually like Carl Dixon, but not the ref. That's as much as I'm going to say about the ref because we only had ourselves to blame in that one. And I'll show that now. I want to get through the French tries and just completely show you how we were undone. James Ryan was getting himself in hot water again by putting in it was a bit of a cheap shot on Matthew Jalibert. I don't think it was illegal, to be fair. It was done a lot to Irish players, so not much sympathy. Jalibert took it like a champ anyway. Great to see Antoine Dupont back, and there he is, the man himself. Not even his best game. Like, if we're being honest, that wasn't the best French game we've ever seen. They've been better. You know, they've been more flawless. They didn't have to get out of second gear, really, to beat us. This man was outstanding. Really deserved to win man of the match. I thought Jalibert could have won it as well. I thought he was excellent. I prefer him to Roman Ntamack and Bordeaux, the Champions Cup holders. So it's a good case to make. I like the way the French take the pressure off their fly half. Gives them more freedom because it's a tough position. And like in fairness to Prendergast, he's still young. It's a high pressure position. But when everything goes through the 10 like it does with Ireland, you're putting all the pressure on. Whereas you've got this man, Antoine Dupont, you've got Jalibert, you've got Ramos, who seems to just rise to the challenge. He only missed one kick. He's usually flawless from the boot. This man, Nicolas Deporter, was outstanding. I feel like Yoram Moefana and Nicolas Deporter didn't get the appreciation they deserve. I feel like those two absolutely bashed through the middle of Stuart McCluskey, Big Stu, and Gary Ringrose. I kind of felt like this man Aldegari. Do you remember when he went down on a ball? He was so slow to jump on it, not very mobile. Unlike this man here, Guillard, Guillard or Guillard. Some French people, please help me out. I was saying Guillard. I know the double L makes a Y sound, and then ARD is kind of like R, so Guillard. Équipe, yeah, Équipe is team. So Guillard. I'm going to say Michael Guillard. Outstanding player anyway, and I was very impressed when he played against Wales and Italy. I just thought his work rate is really good, and he got through with 7 tackles in the first half and made 41 run meters, and he ran through Joe McCarthy and Tony Byrne. He doesn't look very big, but he's powerful. He just got so much acceleration. But we kept kicking to him. But here's big Julian Marchand, who was quiet by his standards, carrying the ball. And we're going to just talk through how sloppy Ireland were. So look already, I'm already highlighting it. Three men are committed to that breakdown already, whereas France have already committed two. Mikel Guillard and Aldegheri's coming in if needed. Antoine Dupont's coming round. But we look fine so far. With a simple adjustment, we can have two men at least on their feet. No. And Guillard kind of holds in Dan Sheehan here. Lockman kind of falls to the side. Ty Burns going for the jackal, which he's brilliant at doing. But now we've got four men committed to one ruck. Aldegheri's kind of standing there as a pillar. And to be fair, you don't really want him in the loose play. You want him as close to the tight play as possible. So Lockman, in fairness, got around a lot, much more than Thomas Clarkson. Thought Clarkson was kind of solid in the set piece, but didn't offer a whole lot. Doris was quiet, but him and Ty Byrne got a few really good jackals in. It's just that we couldn't use it. But we played this on anyway. Look at that ball presentation. It's gone to ground. So that's only 2 seconds into this clip, and the ball is presented perfectly. Shane's only getting up. He had a very quiet game by his, albeit amazing standards. Kane Prendergast was very quiet. I've been impressed with him lately for Connacht that he's really stepped up as a leader. But yeah, not a great game from him. I do feel like the forwards had to do a lot of defending, in fairness to them, so they were tired. I'm a former forward myself, so I do have a bit of sympathy. But from when Marchand got that ball, carried it in, and now it's presented perfectly for this man who doesn't need a perfect ball to make it good. 2 seconds down below. And now look at this setup. So we've got two Frenchmen who can't really contribute a whole lot. Got another one, Jean Baptiste Gros, Oscar Jigu, who's very impressive, a really good player. I really like him. At the Sogby was singing his praises as well. Him and Jalibert won me money, so I love you guys. But if we look at it here, we've got 1, 2, that's Jamie Osborne, Jacob Stockdale. Stockdale, in fairness to him, he made a good tackle on this man, a really good cover tackle. He didn't get a lot of ball to attack with, but yeah, our back line, even this man, Gibson Barker, was excellent. Always singing his praises, but I couldn't sing his praises in that game. Wasn't good enough, unfortunately. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, only 4 men over on the left-hand side for Ireland. France is right. And then we have Gibson Park shuffling across, which is fine. You know, he's a quick player and really good at the cover tackle. He's a brave man too. I will give him that. Ty Byrne, Dan Sheehan, Quelle and Doris. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7. Have to do it. The kids that I was working with were always doing it. And then eventually I said, if you can't beat them, join them. Just laugh at them. Or laugh with them, sorry. You've got Tommy O'Brien over here. You can just see a mop of ginger hair. And looking at this, Ireland have enough men to defend this all day, no problem. I think that's Francois Crowe. Yeah, it must be him. He always wears the long black sleeves and the black scrum cap. Be more of a tackler and a defensive player for France than a ball carrier, but they can do everything. They're all. Alfie's just asleep next to me here. Just show. Came in to help me make a video. So right now I wouldn't be too concerned. Like there's Joran Mofana, Deporteurs coming across. You got Matthew Jalibert, Biel Barry hooking the touchline over here on the left. It's a good picture. Like it's actually all right. I don't know where's Big Stu. So that's Stuart McCluskey actually over there. And Stockdale's dropped into the backfield. Maybe it is. Big Stu is missing. It's just not ideal having so many forwards because Thomas Clarkson's not the quickest man. No offense to him, but him and John McCarthy. Shelly Bear's probably looking at that gap and thinking, my eyes are lighting up. But we'll play it on anyway. Gibson Park is coming across. I wouldn't be too concerned from this picture right now, but we'll highlight it. First of all, McCarthy shooting out with the line. We're disjointed. So do you see how we had a nice kind of, we'll just go back. Don't want to do this too much, but we just kind of show how it was, how everyone was kind of in a line together. Now, the kick's put in. This is when Prendergast has dropped into backfield, which is fine. You know, fly half and a fullback typically need to drop back to cover the field. I think in this case, Stockdale's dropped back because Osborne is over there. I will cut Sam Prendergast some slack. I think you don't want to give the French a maul so early and then they go forward. We actually did quite well in that area. Our line out and our scrum, I thought was quite solid, I will say. And there's not a lot of positives to take from this game. Trust me. So I'm clutching at straws, but no, I felt like those areas were good against a very big French team, albeit they did keep a few of their big boys on the bench and then unleashed them. But once we brought on Finley Bean and Ronan Keller and Michael Milne, they coped with it pretty well. And then obviously the second rowers. I did like the fact that we did a 6-2 split, but I had a feeling they take off Stuart McCluskey and then put Jack Crowley in at 12 to give us two playmakers, which, you know, that could work as well. I kind of see what they're doing, but Prendergast got a knock to the head and wasn't having a great game to begin with. I was actually worried for his safety at one point because he was pumping blood. I thought he should have come off for safety reasons and the fact that he wasn't having a great game. But I think it might have been injury related because Craig Casey had to come on for Jamie Osborne, I believe. We didn't really get to see much of him, so it wasn't on for long enough. But this kick by Jalibert is good, it's deep, and Prendergast deals with it in the best way, I think, in fairness, that he could. And as well, I will give him even more credit. BL Beret is coming up on him. So the last thing he wants is to pick that up. This man will be on you in seconds, and then he smashes you into Dutch. So he hacks that upfield. But at this stage, we're fine. We're better than fine. Because these two are not a threat. They're up here. I think that's Deporter or Malfana, who's made up a lot of ground. Prendergast is coming up. Tommy O'Brien. Is that McCluskey there? Anyway, I'll play it on in a second, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I won't do it again. I will. It's hacked up. Prendergast can come up, put them all on side. There's only two Frenchmen here that can really attack. He has to come back up to put them all on side, and it goes a bit further anyway. Bounces. So that bounce is good. That serves us well. So Prendergast has put 4 players on side anyway. He's about to put 5 on. And then when he comes up, all these guys will be on as well. And they're juggling with the ball. Yeah, that's Deporter holding the ball. So now, all good. He's had the backtrack, give a pass, and we're doing all right at this stage, I would say, as we play it on. It's how we adjust that I think we're too slow in, you know. So Tomo Ramos gets on it, and we should always be prepared for a blindside attack. I think we always assume that other teams are going to go open side because that's kind of what we do. But what France are great at doing is exploiting every weakness. They'll go open side, but then throw the ball back in just to keep it interesting. And even if they turn it over, they won't be discouraged by doing it again and it comes off. That's the difference. We won't do it. We won't go down the blind side. We'll throw the stupid pass and we'll keep doing it, even when it's clearly not working and it never works. You know, and that's the difference right there. Just want to make sure that we're all good. We're all good. So at this point, good offload by Ramos. In fairness to Prendergast, I think he has to put that pressure on, which he does. The two centres, Deporter and Mofana, are faced up by, that's a good hit by Ringrose. Now Tommy O'Brien needs to come in, so just go back on that. Sorry. I feel like a TMO. So Ramos gets it here and gives it to Deporter. That ball, yeah, it looks okay. It's not really, it's kind of the motion of the hands is backwards, I would say. But if you look at that image, that's a good hit by Prendergast. Good pressure on Ramos. Not often I would say that, but I think he's done the right thing. So is Ringrose because they've taken the man out, but they're committed to the tackle as well. So that's fine, and no issue with that. They're making their hit and they're putting their man down, or at least holding them up. Now again, good tackle by Tommy O'Brien. Sorry, 1 second. A sip. It's a really good tackle by Tommy O'Brien. Gibson Park is coming up. The beep beep is ahead of Joran Mofana, so it'll be a forward pass if he threw it to Francois Crow is also ahead of him. The only man he can give it to is Thomas Ramos or make an adjustment so BL Barry can drop back. And it looks kind of awkward sometimes when France are doing it, but it works out for them. You know, they readjust themselves to get the ball. And Gibson Park wasn't switched on for that. Is that Thomas Clarkson? Because he's a big man, he's a heavy tight head prop. You know, he's not the kind of guy you want having to sprint over. I actually don't think he's that heavy, but he's quite slow. You know, he's built for the tight play. And you don't want him having to sprint across anyway. Prendergast has come up. Now he's off Ramos. So Ringrose has dominated that hit on Deporter. So you're kind of happy with that hit. But we're still fine at this point. We've got a good line of defenders here. We have Stockdale in the backfield. And Mofana has to make a readjustment, as does Louis Bielbarry, to make a legal pass that's not forward. So if we play it on here, this is where all the trouble arises from. Like, look at that adjustment. So it's not that difficult, but we get undone so easily by it. So Bielbarry is ahead of Mofana, and Tommy O'Brien makes a good hit. Ringrose has made a good hit. Prendergast hasn't made the hit and finished it, but in fairness, he's put good pressure on the playmaker, Thomas Ramos. So far, so good, I would say. We've done everything well. Gibson Park is too focused on the ball. He's looking at the ball there. And that means that is Thomas Clarkson. Caelan Doris is a number 8, and like he's not got the pace to get back. Few people have the pace to keep up with Beep Beep, but you don't want to be giving him any space down this way. I feel like Gibson Park. See, in one sense, I have sympathy for him because he has the cover. This is a bad picture right here. Like, infield, we've got Jalibert and Ramos and Antoine Dupont shuffling across. But then look who's defending. So we've got Joe McCarthy, second row, Caleb Doris, number 8, who looks like he's a bit tired and he's not, his one hand on the hip. Looks like it is. Maybe it's just the angle. But that's not a good picture. That means if that pass goes in, are you expecting these two to catch Louis Bielbarry? A quick winger couldn't get him. Never mind a tight head prop, Thomas Clarkson, who was the closest to this play after Gibson Park, who in fairness has gotten 2 minds because he's thinking, has Tommy O'Brien completed that tackle? I think he should back his winger to make that tackle in the end. But even if Gibson Park does come over and face up with Louis Bielbarry, if Bielbarry doesn't for pace or steps inside, I don't fancy Thomas Clarkson or Caelan Doris to make that tackle. Not at all. And it's just so easily done. You know, we're undone by one little adjustment. You could say Stockdale should come up a bit more. Prendergast actually makes a really valiant effort to get back and ankle tap Louis Bielbarry, but Stockdale's caught in his heels. So this picture is not very good. Like, just trying to see who's there. It looks like we've no backs. Where are all our backs? Well, Tommy O'Brien's making a good hit. So was Gary Ringrose. So was Sam Prendergast, in fairness. There's Gibson Park. Then we've got Jamie Osborne over here, and that's Keane Prendergast. Then we have that's Dan Shane. That's who that is. There's Jeremy Lockman. Jesus, all our forwards are getting from one ruck to another instantly, and then going to the open play. Our backs are really not doing enough. And I've said it before, but that looks like Stuart McCluskey out there. Like we've got to make more of an effort. There's hands on hips over here from the French. They're tired. They're conserving energy, and instead of us conserving energy, our forwards are sprinting from one side of the pitch to the other. So just to show you, look how much ground we've covered from where we've come from. I'll just play it through. So we've got Lockman there, we've got Clarkson, Joe McCarthy, Ty Byrne, Quelle and Doris. And then from that route, they all end up over the other side of the pitch. Van der Fleer as well. A good kick. But where are our backs? What are they doing? Like our backline should be getting across here. When he hacks this forward, like right now, we've Ringrose, we've got Prendergast, we've got Tommy O'Brien. Oh, please. Sorry, dinner's ready, but I'll hold off for a little bit. We need more effort from our back line. You know, they should be coming across the hill, but I know you don't want disjointed play, but our forwards have just sprinted from one ruck to the other. Like you saw where Caelan Doris was in fairness to him. Didn't have the best game, but he's come from all the way over there to here. Then Clarkson, I mean, in fairness to Clarkson, he's a tight head prop, and he's covering a lot of ground. So is Tony Byrne and John McCarthy. This is slow right now. And then that's a really good hit. We end up in a really poor position now. Like, we've got four backs, which is okay, but look where they are. Our forwards are here. France's eyes are lighting up. Once that pass goes to Bale Barry, Clarkson's not catching him. Neither is Doris and neither is McCarthy. He's gone. One simple adjustment and he's gone. And by the time Gibson Park realises it, like, this is just an example. Look where Louis Bale Barry is, and look where Gibson Park is. He doesn't have much of a head start on him. So I do get as well that he's a once in a lifetime player. You know, he's incredible. But I showed it last year when Ireland got done down the same side, actually. So our right hand touchline by some quick footwork by Ollie Lawrence that took out three players. And then England got an easy try. And then in fairness, Prendergast does his damnedest to get back and make this tackle. All he can do is an ankle tap. We play it on. Like Gibson Park slows him down a little bit. Very good attempt by Prendergast. Clarkson's not far away. He's a big man, so you're thinking, should he just jump? You know, just jump, take the leap of faith, and try and hit him. You know, because the support coming up isn't great. You know, it's Francois Crowe who's in on everything, and then Antoine Dupont who's always everywhere. I'm surprised Charles Olivon isn't there, but we've only got one man to tackle, really. Yeah, there's enough cover in on Antoine Dupont to stop him. And Prendergast, to be fair, gets down Louis Balebury and Stockdale and Clarkson failed to take advantage of that. Like, look, that's a really good attempt in fairness. Clarkson, see the fact that he's just busted a gut to get across the field. He's not as fresh to make that tackle. He shouldn't be in that position in the first place. And that's why. See, look at the gap, the distance, even though Gibson Park has slowed him down and Prendergast has ankle tapped him. It's a very poor attempt now from Stockdale. Like Balebury's just regaining his feet and he still gets past him with ease. One hand on him. And I've defended Jacob Stockdale vehemently. I feel like he's been unfairly treated. And look, it's a hard tackle to make, especially given how good this man is. But we shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. But he's a class act. Fairness to Doris. walking in there, he's just covered a monumental amount of ground. He's made a great effort to get back, but you can't stop these guys. They're too fast. No, I don't know who's in commentary. I don't know if it's David Flatman or who it is, but whoever makes this point is bang on the money. Get that screen up, sorry, it's in my way. When this happens, he makes a really good point that we're not in any danger. So I'm playing on. Yeah, he said it shouldn't have amounted to anything. There's no real danger, you know, and I think he's dead right with that. So he was saying it sort of worked out for Prendergast hacking the ball down. Yeah, looking at it from this angle, Gibson Park has a lot of ground to make up. So does Prendergast, in fairness. I think Gibson Park does enough to slow him down. Gibson Park slows him, then Prendergast ankle taps him. Clarkson and Quelle are probably the last two people you want over there having to make last ditch tackles. Prendergast covers a lot of ground and makes a good ankle tap. That's a really good ankle tap. Stockdale's not quick enough to react, and he's very deep, you know. I kind of get why he's deep to clear the ball if it gets kicked through, and kind of wonder if Prendergast was able to regather the ball. Could he have passed it to Stockdale and then the left footed clearance, you know, kind of opens up the pitch? Because I've been saying it for a while. We need a left footer to clear the ball on the right side because you've got more of an angle to work with, and then vice versa, right footer to clear on the left side. It just opens up the pitch. Because if I'm aiming left, I can aim diagonally across the pitch and I've got more of an angle to work with if anyone tries to charge me down. But anyway, I think even if Stockdale had managed to make that tackle, Bielbury would have gotten his arms free and Dupont was in. So, yeah, no, I agree. No way you should get around. And he's pretty flawless. Tomo Ramos. This one now is completely unforgivable. So you look at their possession and territory, and we're in 21 minutes, completely dominated by France. But this is a scrum, and our forwards hold it quite well. Gibson Park is right next to Dupont. Prendergast is here. We've got Gary Ringrose and Stuart McCluskey facing up. We've got Stockdale. We've got enough people here to cover the open side. We should never get done down our open side because you've got a flanker. Normally, how I like to do it was the blind side and the scrum half in this situation would tackle the number 8 or the 9, the scrum half and the opposition. If they picked and went the blind side. If they went open side, then the open side flanker, Josh van der Fleer, and the number 8, Caleb Doris. That means you have two men. And typically, what's going to happen here is a number 8 will pick and run because the number 8 can pick, go around the ref, and attack that channel. And in fairness, like I know I just signed Prendergast's praises and defended a kick that many people were slagging him off about, but even if it wasn't Prendergast defending that channel, a number 8 picking and going into that space, even if he gets tackled, he's 9 times out of 10 he's going over. If it was Gregory Aldry, let's say he'd pick. Jalonch is more of a defensive number 8, but France decided to play it to this man, Jalibert, who makes a good line and won me a bit of money, so I can't be too mad. But we should never get done down this side. Tommy O'Brien's over here in the background, and we'll see his ginger mop of hair in a second. He's a good defender. Saw him absolutely smash Makazoli Mapimpi, who's a big man, and he had the measure of him. He's a very good tackler. I like him. You know, I've really been impressed by him, but this was not his best game. And in a lot of ways, it couldn't be, but we'll play it on. Like, just to add another point, we've got enough men here, so we're fine. We've also got a good scrum. Like, our scrums are pretty solid. Jeremy Lockman did all right, I will say. Thomas Clarkson, he did okay. Lockman was better in the loose play, but he's a loose end prop. He's heavier. He's a bigger man, but he still got around a lot better. And he played 60 minutes. So he was not the reason we lost. Our forwards, I don't think, were. I think they did as best they could. They matched France in the line out and the scrum. but we just were lacking creativity, and the tries that we conceded were far too easy. So we played this on anyway. It's evenly matched. Now, do you see Jalibert here making a beeline? Right now, we're okay. We've got Kane Prendergast, who's he's a bit too tight to that scrum, but I understand why, because of the amount of pressure coming in from the French. You want to make sure that you're not loosely bound. But he should be looking around as well. I think Francois Crowe makes a really good effort to block his view, so he's not as quick to get out, and you do whatever you can to put off the opposition back row. But we've got Prendergast here, Doris back here. We've got Gibson Park, who stepped back, making sure you have to be behind the tunnel. So he's in a good position. Prendergast is in a good position, and look at the eyes. He's looking up. He's got good vision as Jalibert, and Jalibert is a fly half. He's a powerful ball carrier, but he's a fly half. He's not the biggest guy on the pitch. He makes a good run. Tommy O'Brien is here and comes in to smash him because Bale Pre is waiting on the left wing. And if you make that defensive decision to jam in on the fly half, jamais, which he does, I mean, it's never, never, I think. You've got to make your hit. I think the decision was good, but you've got to make it count. That being said, 3 Irish players miss 1 tackle on a man who was running straight. When you look at Jalibert here, he straightened up. He didn't run a difficult line. He comes from behind the scrum, so we'll see where he starts now. Directly behind, he just eases over to the side of the scrum, so we know what's coming. Well, we're prepared for it anyway. We've enough men there. And now we see Dupont is on the move. So what needs to happen now is Prendergast needs to close down that space, because they've kind of gone forward, but the ball is out. So Prendergast is kind of held back. So is he obstructed? I don't think so. I think it's just a bit of a dominant hit by France after the ball is out. Dupont gets it, and I understand Gibson Park doesn't want to give him that gap because he'll get through it, and he's given Kane Prendergast an awful lot to do. Once that pass goes, Jalibert hits it at good pace. You do also have to be careful of BL Barry, and I think if Jalibert hadn't scored, the pass was going out left and wide to Louis BL Barry, and he was going to score anyway. That just shows the variety the France have. If Jalibert didn't score, I feel like Dupont or BL Barry would have scored. So we see it here. Prendergast is both the Prender goats. They've gotten free. Gibson Park has made that decision, which I think is the right one. He has to tackle his opposite number. Then Tommy O'Brien needs to jam in and put pressure on Jalibert, which is the right decision, because if he waits and hangs back on his heels, he's giving Jalibert a free run. And if he does that, then he can go in and go in this gap, or he can go to the left of Prendergast, or to Prendergast's right, sorry, or he can go through the Prendergasts together. He's got multiple options. But that's the thing with France. Because Dupont doesn't just pass the ball, he holds it. Let me show you here. When he gets it, he runs with it. He could just throw that pass to Jalibert, but instead he holds it to make sure that he's given himself the option. He's drawing Gibson Park in. If he just threw that pass, Gibson Park could move off to the next man. And I'll show you what I mean by that now. So he could just fling this across to Jalibert, and then what that means is Gibson Park can shuffle across, so can Kane Prendergast. By actually running at Gibson Park, he forces him to make the defensive decision to tackle him. And then when he does that, that means we're committed and we're down men in the backfield. Field. 1 sec. My parched throat. So Tommy O'Brien here has made a good decision, because that pass cannot go to BL Barry, but he's also gotten his timing wrong. He's come in overcommitted. Jalibert stepped back in, but there's 2 of the Prendergasts here. You expect one of them to make the hit, and he waltzes in past them like they're not even there. And in fairness, Game Prendergast does make the hit, but it's too late. He's already over the line at this stage. Yeah, too easy. Oh, so easy, as Royal says. So DuPont makes a really good decision here to draw in Gibson Park, and we're just too slow to react. So then that ball goes out to Jalibert, who just straightens up. Tommy O'Brien's making a line in here, but he overcommits to it, and then what that means is Jalibert steps back in, and he's through our defensive line. So once that pass goes, he's just hitting that space, hit it as hard as you want, and get to the line. Tommy O'Brien has to then come up because he's in no man's land. If he holds back, then that means that Johnny Bear is just going to walk into that gap, and then his momentum should be enough to get him over the line. You see, Ramos's first. No, no. So you see how he ends up getting a hand on really isn't good enough. He runs up, then just gets a hand to him. That's an arm, a long arm out, that's going to be slapped away easily. It's not enough to stop a man with the ball. And then Prendergast does the same. And then his brother Kane finishes it off by just tackling him over the try line. It's very weak. He goes through them like they're a turnstile, as I heard people say. Pretty good description. Like, I understand what Tommy O'Brien is doing, but square up and hit him directly under the ribs. You can make a good tackle there. I think he's kind of holding back because he's afraid that Bale Beret will get the ball. So what he's trying to do is shut off the pass here. So once that ball goes to Jalibert and he runs a line, Tommy O'Brien's caught in two minds. He shoots up out of the line, but he's kind of worried that if I make the tackle and I go and wrap my arms around the rib cage, then Jalibert will offload it to Bale Beret. So that could kind of be playing in his mind as well. Only Tommy O'Brien will know that now, but I feel like that's what happened, and that's what France are very good at doing. They're good at getting you in two minds. There's so many options. But I thought, while Dupont does so many great things, this stuff that's not really appreciated, he could simply pick that ball up like a lot of scrum halves do and just shuffle that across. By him actually making Gibson Park engage in that tackle, he's creating an extra man. It's genius. It's simple, but it's so clever. How many times do you see a scrum half just shuffle that ball across? But by Dupont actually saying to Gibson Park, I'm going to run with it if you don't tackle me. And then Francois Crow and Charles Olivon driving in here. They're blocking Kane Prendergast from getting across. They're not holding him, so it's actually legal what they're doing because they're part of the scrum. But he's slower to get out of there. So France do that very cleverly and legally. All very legal, but it's just good rugby. It's clever. So they're preventing that man from getting across, and they're taking this man out of the play, and then all you're left with is Tommy O'Brien and Sam Prendergast, and France do the rest. And that's the thing, by rushing in and only getting an arm to him, Prendergast only gets another arm to him, and it's not enough. It's too weak. But if O'Brien had made that tackle, Jalibert can throw the ball across to this man, Bielbury, and possibly even the ball can go back to, I think that's Anthony Jalonge. So there's two options here. There's actually three options, and he picks the first one. Go yourself, and he gets his try, and he had a great game. He steps back to his inside shoulder. Yeah, he missed that conversion. Only one. Now this one, Lockman again, in fairness, getting around. So like he made a lot of really big tackles. To be fair to him, Balebury's kind of in the side here. I think you can maybe, if you're being strict, you could do him for that. But There's two Frenchmen on the ground. Ty Byrne, he's not really able to compete for it, but in fairness, he does that very well. So I'd never stop him from competing for the ball. There is Thomas Clarkson. Yeah, BL Barry, he's in the side there. It's kind of illegal to look at it, but I don't think he holds on to him for too long. So you kind of say fair enough. This is actually a slower French ball, so even off slow ball, they're good. That image there, it doesn't look great. If Carl Dixon is paying attention and then he's running into poor Jeremy Lockman. But this is actually a very slow ball. Like Ty Byrne, to be fair, with his chin rested on Marchand's arse. Big arse that it is. This isn't cause for concern. Byrne has managed to slow the ball down. So even when you don't win the jackal, you slow the player down. Like I remember in a game before, I kept going for the jackal and I wasn't winning too many turnovers, but I was slowing the ball down. And if you haven't watched it already, I implore you to go and watch Sam Warburton against the All Blacks for the Lions. I think Squidge Rugby made a video on it and he slowed down their ruck by 5 seconds. And remember, I showed you at the very start of this video that from Marchand carrying the ball to him going to ground and Dupont getting the ball to play with, 2 seconds from the carry to the ball presentation. That's how quick the ruck was. So slowing a ruck down by 5 seconds is quite impressive. And that's without even winning the ball. When you get a jackal turnover, even better. What an underrated player Sam Warburton was. But Ty Byrne, in fairness, was doing this all game. He looks kind of disgusted. He's there. Did someone just fire? You can see that. So let's count that ruck because it's quite slow. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, that's about 8 seconds. About 8 seconds from when the ball goes. Maybe about 7. Yeah, so yeah, about 7 seconds. And then Johnny Bear puts in a kick. So he still hasn't played it at this stage, right? There we go. So it's, yeah, about 7 seconds that ball took to be presented versus 2. And that's not even for it to be presented. That's from the carry to when we got it, you know. So if Dupont can do amazing things with slow ball, imagine what he can do with quick ball. The point I'm making here is even with slow ball, Ireland are up in a good position here. Again, Joe McCarthy is he's far too wide for my liking. He's a big second rower, he puts in big hits, he's a strong fella. You don't really want him having to cover too much ground, but we look at it here. Stuart McCluskey, Josh van der Fleer, Joe McCarthy, Jamison Gibson Park. Then you've got Kane Prendergast. That's Dan Shane there, sorry. There's Kane Prendergast, Tyke Byrne. It's all forwards. You've only got 2 backs, and Stuart McCluskey wouldn't be your quickest. He's your big ball crashing centre. Ring Rose, Tommy O'Brien, Jeremy Lockman, and Clarks. Don't really mind them being over here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players on our blind side. And then French players 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest of them are all coming around the corner. So if we look at it here, Johnny Bear's identified it's slow ball. And this is what I'm talking about, heads up rugby. So we counted 7 seconds in that ruck versus 2. When it's quick ball, it's on. Let's play attacking rugby. But Ireland are well set here. And if you look at the players the France have, Aldegheri, he's not the quickest. No offense to him, but he's a big man. He's heavy. He's slow. He's not very quick. And if you saw him jumping on the ball, you know exactly what I meant. Tomo Ramos is back in play just to be an extra option. And the Sogby's holding his width very well. So that crossfield kick is on all day for him. Him and BL Barry were always ready for the crossfield kick if it came. Michael Guillard, Jean-Baptiste Grul, Charles Olivon, Oscar Jagu, and then Francois Crowe. So, it's not the worst situation because forwards, we don't have the silky hands. Although France will show us and prove us wrong later in this play. Jalibert identified that it's slow ball, so Ireland are up in a good line. We just go back from when the ruck is played. So even looking at that position, Tyke Burns doing a good job putting the pressure on. Feel like Clarkson, in fairness, he's being held in by BL Barry, but Burns doing a good job slowing it down, which means that Dupont has to go in fishing for the ball. He's not getting the ball. The way that the other rookie's getting it into hands and he's throwing it. Now he has to go in digging for the ball, which means it's slower, which means that Ireland are well set, which they are. Like, look at us. We're all in a very good position, a really good line. That's a very good position to be in. Like, looking at the amount of forwards France have here versus how many we have, it's not the worst case scenario. The only thing I'd be worried about is that crossfield kick went in and the Sogby's quick. He's not BL Barry quick, but he's still pretty fast. But Jalibert instead puts a really lovely chip over the top because if the defensive line is coming up in our face, where's all the space? It's in over behind them. With teams that like the pressure and put in a lot of big hits like South Africa do, they like to rush up, the rush defense, blitz defense as it's also called. These guys are shooting up. So when that pass goes, we're actually in a good position. What France don't do is they don't wait about. It's instant. They know what to do. Jalibert knows if the defensive line is set, chip the ball in over. And that's the thing that I like about France. If the defensive line is all over the place and disjointed, vite, jouer, keep passing it, keep throwing it around, keep disrupting their play because the more we pass the ball, the quicker we are. That means the tighter they're going to be they have to keep backtracking and backtracking. But the defence is well set here. We're in their half. The space is in over here. Let's chip it over the top. Really good idea, and it pays off perfectly. So look at that. That is ideal. We've put a lot of pressure on them. But Jalibert makes a great decision, chips it over the top, and then he palms it back. And then look at the men who get on the ball in the end. Mikhail Guillard, Charles Olivon, the forwards. Everyone was alert to this play, which is great to see. And that's how heads up rugby works. And even looking at this right now, I'm glad I paused it here. There's 4 Irish players around Jalibert, and he still manages to bat the ball back. Our reactions just aren't quick enough. So he gets it back. It's kind of awkward, he scoops it backwards. Doesn't really know who he's throwing it to. But look how quick France recycle this ball. It's chaos. They thrive in chaotic rugby. The thing I never really liked about Ireland was how everything is a set piece. It's all finely balanced and measured. Sometimes you just got to play your cards and see what happens. This is what France do so well. Alfie agrees. Good boy. What do you think of the game? Do you like it? Or Ireland good? Good boy. Yeah. It's your first video, isn't it? The rugby. You've made it into a rugby video. We're filming them for everything. He's my analytical coach. My trusty assistant. Oh boy. Or am I his trusty assistant? Doesn't pay me enough. But the ball gets slapped back here. And look how fast France react to it. We're just not quick enough at all. I'm just going to pause it for a second, let him move. So, one thing I was talking about when I went to get my Leinster Stage 1 coaching badge was how Irish players are told, do not kick, and unless you're the fly half, maybe, we're told never kick. It's drilled into us that you go down on the ball and you don't kick it at all. And we had to run a few set plays, and the coach at the end of it said, how come nobody kicked? And I was kind of like, you just explained to me why nobody kicked. We had a really good chat about it. And it was a good, interesting conversation, why he was explaining why nobody takes a kick, because they're told, don't do that, And when you play rugby from a young age, if you're told, don't do something by a coach, you don't do it. And if it's drilled into you that this is bad, of course you don't do it. And there's too much fear based coaching in Ireland where we don't take risks, we play the system. And France have just shown us how the system is broken. Fuck the system. Because they're just playing what they see. I'm sure that that's not a pre planned move. That's Matthew Jalibert being given the freedom to go. If their defence rushes up on us, chip it over the top, get our backs rubbing in behind them. And actually, it's quite simple, and that's the beauty of it. It's very simple, but it works. And then he slaps it back, and look who reacts. It's not just the back line, the forwards are doing the hard work as well. Francois Crowe, who's everywhere, you know. I think he doesn't have the nimble skills, and then he does this. So we're scattered now, scatterbrained. That nice line of defence that we had is now broken by one kick. Jalibert kicking the ball over the top and batting it back has disrupted our defensive line so much. And then Francois Crowe being alert. Oscar Jagu was here as well if Crowe didn't get it. And now look what they do with it. Gives it to Jean Baptiste Crowe. Crowe to grow. This is your Lucette prop. He's a lean boy. Grow means fat. And I mean, he's grown, but he ain't grow. He's well built. But that's a good pass. Now we have to scatter across, you know, we have to shuffle across and try and defend for our lives. And we're backpedaling. France have us on the back foot once again. Good hands by the forwards. Like, in fairness to them, like I was just talking about, our forwards doing a lot of work, but the forwards made this try. Jalibert, brilliant kick, you know, and a great bat backwards. But then Francois Crowe being alert, Jean Baptiste Gros, and then we'll see some piece of beauty from the 2 second rows. Absolute magic. But look how he runs with it. He draws in Sam Prendergast. He doesn't just pass it. He draws the man, gives the pass, does it brilliantly. And then Charles Olivon will finish this off because Michael Guillard takes it brilliantly. So just go back to that again, like, because I really like that try. It's really well made. You know, that's not reading off a script. That's seeing what's in front of you and playing through it. So bravo. Allez les bleus. I wish I could say allez les verts, but not after that. There's nothing to worry about. That's the thing. Actually, we've slowed their ball down really well. We've given them nothing to work with, and Jalibert does his thing. And they're waiting as well. If you see that, like in the corner, Guillard has his hands on his hips almost. They're conserving energy. They're kind of saving the energy, and then when the next play comes, they're in on it. You know, they're not wasting energy. You could say it's lazy. I think it's just being smart. Instead of having to get Tyke Byrne and Caelan Doris and Thomas Clarkson and fairness to him to sprint across the field, they're saving their energy. And then when the time comes to shine, they certainly shine. Francois Crowe isn't sitting around on his arse. He's waiting until Jalibert puts that kick in, and he's alert to it. Jagu is as well. Lovely little chip, Francois Crowe, ready to go. So is Jagu. And then Jean Baptiste Gros gets it, draws the man, and instead of trying to get back, like Charles Olivon doesn't try to run back, he waits. He says to Michael Guillard here, you fight me. He's offside here, you know, and obviously if the ball was thrown to him, it'd be a forward pass, but he doesn't waste any energy. None of them do. They conserve energy so well. And that's the thing. Adesogby would get the ball as well. I was worried that he wouldn't get it and then he wouldn't score a try and then I wouldn't get my money. But it worked out in the end. But this is a perfect setup. JB Osborne in the backfield having to cover 2 big men again. So Crowe's done his bit. He's taking a breather. Aldegheri's certainly catching his breath. And then we rolled on. Lovely pass, like in fairness to Lucette prop. Look at that pass. Really good skills. He floats it perfectly. He floats it for Guillard to run onto it. This pass is lovely by Jean Baptiste Gros. Oh, because he's putting it up in the air for Guillard to run onto it, which he does brilliantly. And then we have Olivon waiting for it. Now, What Gear does really well, Olivon is ahead of him. He draws the man because he could give it out to Atasogby, but instead he straightens up. Perfectly timed pass, and Charles Olivon does the rest. He's too much pace for Quelle and Doris. And then he does the rest. It's long and slinky finger, so slides in for the try. I like that one. This pass is just magical. But look at how we're scattering across. We have to scurry across here, whereas before we were in a good position. France did that to us. We were actually in a very good position. They disrupted us. So that's all brilliance from them. But it shows you how easy it is with a bit of imagination and flair. Wonderful pass. Like he floats it up into this space. So Guillard is running onto it. He doesn't throw it backwards. He doesn't misplace it. He floats it up perfectly, like a centre. Matthew Jalibert would have been happy with that. A fly half would have been very happy with that pass. He doesn't fancy his range to give it that to Sogby, but he gave it to the right man in the end. Like, look at that. He straightens up, he floats it, and Guillard sprints onto it and then hits that space perfectly. He holds onto it because he can give a pass to Atasogby. And like I was saying before, there's always more than one option. You know, Guillard could go himself, he could dummy, and then he could go through the gap. He decides to straighten up, and then he gives himself the option of being able to pass it over here Tata Sogby or to give it to Charles Olivon. He chose the captain and the capitan. The right call. Imagine the bollock he would have gotten if he didn't choose Olivon. That pass is brilliant. But Guillard does so well. It's like a centre straightening up the way he runs with the ball. You know, I know John McCarthy and Ty Byrne are good players, but I don't know if they necessarily would have the same vision at second row to do this. I know James Ryan wouldn't. He's a one-dimensional player. The vision of a second rower to do this, he straightens right up, hits that space, and gives the right pass in the end. Really clever play. And because Atasogby holds his width the whole time, he's also an option. So Ireland are always second guessing themselves. Give it out here. He could draw the man. He decides to take a step further and give it to Olivon. That's a really good pass. Flat. Yeah, just flat. And then Olivon does the rest. And I can hear in the background, that's a prop making that pass. I agree. What a pass it was. He also said, I thought he'd taken the wrong option when he went inside. We all did, but they just seemed to be flawless in that game, France. What a beard. Ramos does the rest. Big hit by Big Stew. So another missed tackle by Ringrose, who did not have his best game. And I mean, by his own standards, they're very high, but yeah, he looked down on his feet. Deporter and Yoram Malfan have made easy work of those two. Two more experienced and internationally capped players as well. But anyway, again, Doris, Van der Fleer, Clarkson, Lockman, Joe McCarthy all around the ruck. We're about to see it get exploited again. So that's good play, getting on the ball by Ringrose, slowing down the ruck, then goes off his feet, so he's got to leave the ball now. Can't go for it anymore. McCluskey's clever here, just block, get in the way. So again, we do well slowing their ball down. That's good. Give it slow ball. That's actually a really clever play from Ireland. And then Doris stalled to leave it because he didn't survive the clean out. It's now Rook. Now Dupont gets his hands on the ball, has lifted it, and we can come through and play him. Little chip off the top again. Nothing's really on, so we kind of look at that again. It's a bit of a hard angle to show, but it's slow ball. So Dupont kicks. Once it's slow ball, if there's space in behind, chip it in and see. And we've got a nice flat line again. Why not? It's on. he catches us not paying attention, and Ramos is the first to react. So see the yards that Ramos makes up here. That's Jeremy Lockman trying to cover across, and then Tommy O'Brien. We're just not quick enough to react here. And then he fly hacks it through with his left foot, and Bielbarré is just too fast. He's just too good. He's just too good. And this is the ideal picture where we're backtracking and France are running onto the ball, and their variety to score tries. That's the thing. Their ability to score tries from anywhere is what's impressive about them, as shown by a move put together by a blindside flanker, a loose head prop, and 2 second rows. Albeit after a really good kick by their fly half, Jalibert. But that pass by Jean Baptiste Gros was outstanding, really good. That skill set was amazing. And I wonder if our lads will be able to do that. I'm not sure they would. And he just wants it more. I think, could Tommy O'Brien jump on that? Maybe he's afraid about getting his face kicked, but he's a fast man, he's a quick player. And if we just look back again when that kick is taken, slow ball, we have a chance to set and be ready for this kick. And we know France are going to kick over the top. They've already done it in the game. I think I heard a stat where out of 19 kicks, France won 15 of them. So we're the nation that invented Gaelic football. We should be winning the high ball every time. And a bit of rain, that's no excuse. It rains every day of the week in Ireland if you look outside now. Not good. So look at Tommy O'Brien here. Ramos has maybe a bit of a head start, but I think O'Brien could get across to that if he makes more of an effort. I feel like there was a real lack of desire from the Irish team, and France had that desire. They didn't even have to get out of second gear, as I say, but when a ball was there to be won, they won it. O'Brien was too slow to react, so was Jamie Osborne, and this man, Bielbarré, ran in again for another try. So Ramos really busts a gut to get to this here and chips it into this space. And this man needs no second invitation. And who are the ones sprinting back? Joe McCarthy, Jeremy Lockman, and Thomas Clarkson. It's just not good enough. Jamie Osborne is caught in no man's land. Prendergast, in fairness, that's not his area really to cover. You would expect Osborne to cover that better. What I'd be saying as well is yeah, I was going to say about Tommy O'Brien, but he's come across, he's gambled on that. You kind of think you've got to now go for it, jump on it, like I was saying earlier with that tackle he was going to make on Johnny Bear for his try. You've got to jam in, then you've got to commit to your decision. He doesn't commit to either decision here. He kind of comes across, but then leaves it, and Ramos wins the ball, gets a left foot to it, and then kicks it across. Then O'Brien makes the hit on him, but the ball's already gone. And Osborne loses the race. Yeah, ball bubbles up. And then that's game over. Once Bielbarré has any sort of head start, you're not catching him. Untouched. It is Magic Royal, but it's also terrible game management. Yeah, like in fairness, two players there that are kind of caught in no man's land, kind of wondering, are you going for it? Are you going for it? Ramos just wants it more. And if it kind of frees it on the moment where it's kicked. If Osborne commits or Tommy O'Brien commits, they can win that ball, I think. They don't commit hard enough to it. Ramos knows exactly what he's doing. I'm going for that ball. If I can't catch it, I'm just going to kick it through, and this man's going to do the rest. It's simple, but it's very effective. France have much more assuredness in what they're doing, and we don't. We're caught second guessing every decision. Osborne's caught in his heels, so he can't readjust. Even when the ball's kicked, he overcommits. Tommy O'Brien hasn't committed enough, and as a result, the ball's gone. And in fairness, it's a difficult skill to get it right into that gap. But once Ramos does, it's game over. Yeah, like look at that. And then it floats perfectly into his hands. was going to say it was Bale Berry offside, but no, he's just that quick. And if you don't believe me, here we'll show you. Yeah. So he kicks it around here. Bale Berry's well behind them. Not good enough. He just gets something to it. Now, we'd barely fired a shot in the game at this point, and the players that stepped up were replacement forwards. Our pack had actually done all right to this point, survived in the scrums. One scrum, Jeremy Lockman and Thomas Clarkson lost, and that was when Reggie Montagna and obviously Piano Movaca at hooker, but Rodri Ignetti, big props coming on. And they got dominated and won. They also won one as well, though. This is actually Ireland getting on the attack. And I feel like they brought the intensity, the subs that we were missing the whole game. James Ryan did bring a bit of intensity in fairness. A few dodgy looking hits, but they were legal, borderline, but they were legal. So here we are now. Clarkson and Lockman still on at 58. I think they went off after 60 minutes. That's a no arms tackle. Clearly, there were a few of them that were a bit iffy by France. Piano Movaca made one where he was kind of on the ground and put a shoulder into it, but we got the penalty for this anyway. Movaca clearly in the side there, so this is when Crowley's on, and it looks like there's a bit more flow to the attack. He gets it and actually throws the ball, but carries it with a bit more vigour. And now Prendergast gets it. That was actually good. And Stuart McCluskey did quite well. He carried quite powerfully the whole game. So this is actually a good piece of play by Ireland. France aren't going to be in the game for the whole game. They're going to tire at certain points. That's when you've got to get them. They've already unleashed their bench at this point, sent the big dogs in, and this was actually a good piece of play by Ireland. You see James Ryan and Jack Coleman. Personally, I felt like the front row could have done with a breather sooner, but they got it eventually. And Crowley does well to commit Deporter. Prendergast actually does quite well. I don't normally like the double pump, but if you're going to give it to someone who's right beside you, you look like you're going to go out the back, then you give a short pop pass to this man, McCluskey. This was actually a lovely piece of play, and it showed how when we want to and we play smart. I feel like Crowley leads the line better. Maybe that's a role that we could see work in the future. Just look when Crowley gets the intensity he has. He's actually running to the line, prepared to take the hit, then give the pass. So he takes it, waits for the hit, gives the pass. That was really clever. Jalon just jumped out of the line. You've two slow fellas here. And I was criticising him for not taking the tackle before, but now he does. These are two massive men as well. He picks his time. Jalonch, Rodri Ignetti, and Emmanuel Miafu. He sucks them both in. Gives a brilliant pass there to Stuart McCluskey, and then Nick Timoney is in for the try. And he was brilliant when he was on, added a lot more to our attack. Look at that. McCluskey gets the arm free. He did that all game. It's just that there was no one to give it to. And then a really good line by Timoney steps Louis Bieldery, which is no easy feat. He uses his feet quite well. Oh, look at that. He's absolutely done him. Showing the backs how it's done. Like, this was really clever. And look how easy it was. Suck in these two fellas. Crowley took it to the line, gave it to Prendergast. Prendergast sucked in two big men. Miafu really should stay. I don't know why he's getting drawn in so easily because Rodri Ignetti has him. Prendergast isn't the paciest fly half I've ever seen, but he did it brilliantly, in fairness to him. Jalonch as well was sloppy for this. he shot in, and he really made it very easy for Prendergast to give the pass because he runs in here, jumps up, and takes himself out of it completely. And then that's good delay, really good pass. Miafu was committed to it now. McCluskey takes it round him and then gives a lovely pop pass to Nick Timoney. And Sogby has no decision other than to make the tackle, and it's another slow forward coming around. Perfect. That's Montagna right there. Really well held by McCluskey, and a great line by Timoney. He just runs across, absolutely does Bill Beret for pace. That's why we should invest in our sevens program, because we'll have more men built like him. Really good try. That delay was really good because Miafu has to commit to him now. Like those two men are 100 times bigger than Prendergast, but because he's committed both of them, given a great pass, committed Geelong, who's jumped. Very poor read by him. He had a good game, but that was a poor decision by him. Miafu and Rodrigue Netty, Jesus. I'm amazed Prendergast was alive after they hit him, and a nuclear blast didn't happen. But look, just again from this angle. That double pump usually doesn't work. This time it worked perfectly because they'd already drawn in a few defenders. Miafu and Netty have to make that hit now. Now they're committed to the tackle. Brilliant pass. McCluskey takes it into the bread basket. Sogby's now panicking. He has to come across and make the tackle. And McCluskey gets the fend and gets the offload away with his right arm. Perfectly done. Look at that. Gets the hand, gets the right arm free, which he does very well. And Reggie Montagna, he's a big boy, but he's not getting back and making that tackle. That's not his strong suit. Great pass, really good pass. And Timoney does the rest. That's finishing like a winger. Like that's a really impressive finish. Look at Montagna's ear. See that? Look at that ear. It's already bleeding. Doesn't look good. The joys of being in the scrum, and especially the front row. The Prendergast had blood all over him here, and I was kind of thinking, should they take him off? But I realised we only had a 6-2 split, so 6-2. 6-2. Shade down. This was just good old-fashioned carrying, and now look how we've got them on the back foot, backtracking. So we just get back to this. Really good ball carrying. They're committing 3 men to 1 tackle. Balaam gets a good latch on here as well with James Ryan. There's James Ryan, sorry. That's Jack Coleman, sorry. He's taller than I thought. And now look, we've got the penalty advantage because we've overcommitted all their big men, and they've just got a fresh bench, the French bench. These boys are all fresh enough, but because we've overcommitted them, the space rises. But when the space starts opening up, we still don't use it. We rely on the forwards to bash it up, and Michael Mill shows them how it's done. Timmy taking another carry. And Michael Mill just says, give me it, I'm going over, and he does the rest. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn the on-field decision at Troy, so anyone saying that Ireland didn't deserve that try, go fuck yourself. We definitely did. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn that, and the referee saw a ground, and so try time. Well done. Look at Tyke Byrne, though. That's clever playing. He had a decent game. Missed a few tackles, but that was very clever. So he picks, and look at that. He's drawn in Montagna and Rodrigue Netty, and then Calvin Gorge. So they've all been drawn into. I don't know this fella Calvin Gorge, but meant to be a very good utility back. That was a great piece of play. Someone's lost a boot in the background. He doesn't just carry, draws in the players, Montagna and Netty, two big boys, and then Mill does the rest. Crashes into that space. Really well worked. Well done. Yeah, it was James Ryan that made that carry. I knew. I knew my players. And great moment for that man, Mill. I've been singing his praises. He's had to go to Munster to get more caps, and certainly not a bad way to open your Six Nations account. He took that brilliantly. But Tyke Byrne, who knows Mill, they played together at Munster. Took it here against two massive men, drew them both in, and created that space. Michael Milne versus Calvin Gorge. He's always going to win. Calvin, you don't stand a chance. Ce n'est pas de problème. That's brilliant. That's a really good angle as well, because Nettie goes in, vacates that space, and Michael Milne just barges over. Big blue side prop again. He used to be a tight head. I was commenting on a Instagram page talking about when he was in Sisterson. Is that how you pronounce it? Ross Craig College, anyway. Played with a few lads from there, and they were all sound. It's a private school apparently, but usually full of rich farmers, big boys. But yeah, he does the rest. Great play by Tyke Byrne. Draws the two men in, two massive men, and like what Prendergast did, and that creates the space, and the big man powers over. Well done, Michael. He checked both our tries as well, so it's kind of like, well, if you're going to check both of ours, there were a few dodgy decisions for the French one. Just saying, I've got no complaints about the victory. I'm just saying that it would have been worth a second opinion, another look, because it certainly looked like there could have been a forward pass in there. This is the moment where I won my money. So when they get the ball here, and Atasogby gets his try in the corner, in fairness, he did all the ugly side of being a winger. And when his chance came, he grabbed it with both hands and he won me money. So fair play. This is down the blind side. Ireland are wrecked from having to defend constantly. And now France just do the rest. They skip out the big men, give good passes, and it works really well. Miafu takes the tackle from Stockdale, gives it to Johnny Bear, and then the rest is history. Good tackle in fairness by Stockdale, but Johnny Bear's up against a scamper and Finley Balaam. Jack Crowley and Atasogby just has too much pace for him. Crowley can't get the tackle in because it's just too much backtracking. So we look at them in the end. Even though that's the blind side, they still managed to get an overlap. And Royal just said it there. They've taken everything France have had to throw at them. They certainly did, and more. Although I think the French left a bit out there. Wasn't their best performance, and yet they still got 5 tries. Blew us off the park. They never looked like losing. Took the speed of the hands by Ramos though, just to ship it into Miafu. And then he gets it away, and Jelly Bear squares up. And that's Sugby, you beauty, you won me my money. Oh, he did well. Did very well. Those two men won me money. Those are my two favourite Frenchmen right now. While it was a bad day at the office for Ireland, at least I won my money. So every cloud, right? But yeah, I wonder if this has any good highlights because there's a few now. RTE. So if I were to pick the best players on the day in the pack, that man, Michael Guillard, I'm going to say Guillard, he was excellent. Francois Crow in on everything as always. Charles Olivon did what he had to do. I don't know why it says debut next to Marshall because he's played hooker before. I thought Charles Olivon was saying that it's his first game at second row, which is fair enough, but certainly tall enough to play there. Jean Baptiste Gros was good in the loose play, but actually in the scrums, it felt like his left elbow kept dropping down a bit. If you watch the scrums, it was like his elbow was hitting the ground. So it felt like the referee, Carl Dixon, could have pinged him for that a bit more because Thomas Clarkson was certainly saying, check that elbow. You know, he's keeping his up and then it drops. I certainly saw him make more of an effort to keep it up in the game because the referee had made him aware of it, you know. And then I thought it wasn't actually Antoine Dupont best game, but he just does what he normally does. Then Louis Barry the same. When he has to finish, he's brilliant at it. You know, one of the best, if not the best right now. Thought Matthew Jalibert was the standout. He was really good at 10, orchestrated everything. These two lads didn't get enough praise, in my opinion, because they dominated an older centre partnership with Gary Ringrose and Stuart McCluskey. Tomo Ramos just did what he does, kicks almost perfectly. He missed one, we'll hold that against him, but he's another playmaker, you know. When you've got a playmaker who's as good as Antoine Dupont, then Jalibert, that takes the pressure off Jalibert and he can just do his thing. Monfana crashed it up, gave great offloads. Deporter was running some great lines. And in fairness to Sogby, he did what he had to do, waited for his opportunity, and at the end it was a nice touch him getting a try because he put some really good pressure in on the kick chase. Really good at that. And he's got some pace himself. And he got his deserved try at the end. There were a few times where I was like, oh, he nearly got it. You know, the pass from Mikel Diar could have gone to him. The pass looked better as well, looked more suitable for the right winger because Charles Olivon was ahead of Gear. So I thought, give it to Sogby and then I'll win my money. And then whatever else happens, fair enough. But no, he waited and his time came. And this man gave him a brilliant pass, got his try, managed to shrug off a big hit by James Ryan. They were outstanding, in fairness. Just getting to the Ireland team. Pretty quick back three indeed. We didn't go through each individual ones. We just went straight for the whole team. So if I was going to just talk about the Ireland team, I would say Dan Sheehan, very quiet for his usual self, you know, how good he is. John McCarthy, the same, you know, in from the side, poorly, didn't do a whole lot in the game. Disappointed in him. Van der Fleer, very quiet. And for the caliber of player he is, that was a very bad performance from him. Um, Thomas Clarkson did the set piece all right, but, you know, not great. But I showed you where he was chasing across the pitch, and I think wasting energy, you know, not conserving energy like you should. Jeremy Lockman, I felt like he did okay in the loose play. He was making tackles, and in the scrums, he was pretty solid. Only got pushed back and won, and that was when the French bench came on, the bunch. Kane Prendergast, a couple of good tackles, but not great, you know. I think if I was to pick the standout forward, it would be Ty Byrne, who got some really good jackal turnovers, slowed the French breakdown. That pass for Michael Milne's try was outstanding. I don't think people rate how hard that is to get the ball, draw in the two big men, give it to Milne, who hit the gap brilliantly like a steam train. Doris, quiet from him as well, but he did get a really good turnover, nearly got more, and wasn't his best game, but some good pieces of play. I'd say Ty Byrne was the standout forward, and the lineouts were very good as well from Ireland, in fairness. So that area they were good. The throw from Sheehan was good. Lockman, though, didn't do himself any harm. I think he was decent. I think he was all right. He wasn't world class, but I certainly wouldn't blame the front row for the reason Ireland lost the game. Gibson Park, very bad game by his standards, you know, and he's an outstanding player. Lots of power box kicks, you know, and yeah, just not good. He missed a lot of tackles. He got bumped off a lot. Like he is a brave fella. He puts himself in there against the lads much bigger than him, but not his best game. By far, and that's knowing how good he can play. Prendergast, some very poor reads in the game. That tip tackle or the tap tackle that he made, the ankle tap, that was impressive. Like that was a good bit of effort from him, and then that pass to McCluskey, like that was a really good piece of play. He got 2 from 2 conversions as well, but just some of his play in the loose, was really bad. He gave a shocking pass when Teo Atasogbe was waiting for it. He still threw the pass. Some good moments, definitely, and especially with Jack Crowley kind of leading the line. It kind of took the pressure off him in the same way you do with Matthew Jalibert. So if they're going to insist on playing Sam Prendergast, perhaps they could put somebody like Crowley in there to take the pressure off him. But yeah, definitely not enough from my point of view, to start him again. He has his moments, but they're few and far between. We need to see more games like the Scotland game last year in Murrayfield. Stuart McCluskey, decent enough in the carry, strong, got a really good offload for Nick Timoney's try. I wouldn't blame him as the main reason we lost. We never got enough go forward ball. The passes were too slow by this man, Prendergast. He never got the back line firing enough. And you saw what happened when he got the ball to McCluskey. Crowley gives it to Prendergast. Prendergast makes a really good double bump, gets the ball to McCluskey, who offloads for Timoney, who scores a great try. Ringrose, some good defensive raids, one really good line break in fairness, but by his really high standards, he had a very poor game. And the fact that Joran Mofana and Nicolas Deporter outplayed the two of them, oh, they're more experienced, but they didn't show it in that game for sure. Very disappointed with Tommy O'Brien. Not his best game. A very poor defensive raid for Matthew Jalibert's try. And then I felt like another one for Louis Bielbarré's second try. Same could be said about Jacob Stockdale. I was happy to see him back, but a really poor read, kind of caught in his heels when he should have been up, making the hit on Louis Bielbarré for his first try. Made a really good tackle on Teo Atasogbe, who looked like he was away if Stockdale didn't grab him round the ankle. Not enough on the ball. You'd like to see Stockdale getting some ball. He's played at fullback all season for Ulster, so I know he's played left wing mostly for Ireland and Ulster, but this season he's really done well on the fullback position. Maybe Jamie Osborne can move to the left wing and Stockdale go to fullback. Just a thought, Stockdale's proven he's more than capable. That being said, Osborne is great in the air and was very good. Got a brilliant 50-22, but I feel like it's unfair to kind of single anyone out. I feel like the back three for Ireland were very poor. Poor positional play. That cost us for both of Louis Bielbarré's tries and really poor read down the blind side of the scrum for Matthew Jalibert's try. I feel like with Teo Atasogbe and Charles Olivon, that was just really good play by France, but the other two were poor reactions. O'Brien was too slow getting across, and Ramos managed to get a kick. It was a poor kick. Really, he didn't get much to it, but he got enough to it to get it to Louis Bielbarré because O'Brien wasn't quick enough and Osborne was sat back on his heels. We just weren't quick enough to react. And Stockdale, unfortunately, didn't have the best game either. So, poor overall. Looking at the bench, with France, they made a difference when they came on immediately, for sure. They dominated and won a scrum penalty. They start getting the shove again. But our replacements, in fairness, Finlay Beale and Michael Noon and Roman Keller, and then obviously James Ryan and the tight five, we had enough to match them in that area. Miafu, few offloads, yeah, but a poor read. Him, Reggie Montagne, and Rodrigue Netty. Some very poor reads from that. They bid in like Miafu and Netty are huge men, and they both jammed in on Sam Prendergast, who, in fairness, did brilliantly with it. He drew the players in. I know I sound like a harsh, cruel bastard It's just that I feel like Prendergast is out of his depth. I feel like he was thrown in the deep end too soon, and it's come back to bite us on the arse. I feel like he should have been given more time provincially to develop his game instead of chucking him in the deep end when we have this man, Jack Crowley, who has been leading the way from Ulster for a while. We've also got Harry Byrne playing quite well, kicking quite well too. He's getting his kicks. Our place kicking, that's the problem. Our fly halves are not getting their place kicks. Jack Crowley had an absolute shocker off the tee last year against Italy, and it nearly cost Ireland. We only beat Italy by 5 points, and that was when they had two red cards and a yellow, I think, or the other way around, two yellows and a red. Baptiste Saran injected a lot of pace when he came on for France. Hugo Oredu was like the main line out option. One slick dash as well. Very impressed by Michael Mill. I feel like he's put his hand up and said, pick me. I was impressed by him and getting a try. You know, that won't do his chances any harm. Didn't really see much of Craig Casey. I think he had to go on the wing at one point, maybe, for Jamie Osborne. Didn't see anything really from Ronan Gallagher. Finley Balaam did the scrums, did the tight stuff. He's not the biggest tight head prop, but he held his own in fairness against Rodrigue Netty, who was a bigger man and heavier. James Ryan was involved in a bit of controversy off the ball. He hasn't learned his lesson since getting that ban for the illegal clear out. Malcolm Marks. Always, he never learns his lesson. Always in the thick of it. That's kind of what you need from him as well. Someone to be an enforcer. Jack Conan did very well when he came on, just contributed to pretty much everything, from carrying to rucking. But this man, Nick Timoney, was probably the most impressive player, and that's off the bench. Everything he did was good. His injection of pace, his carries. I'd say even though he came off the bench and only for about 20 plus minutes, he was probably Ireland's best player, Him and Tyke Byrne, Michael Milne as well. They can take some pride out of that game. Jack Conan did add a bit, it was not his best time off the bench, but in fairness, he didn't do anything wrong. Crowley injected a bit of pace into the team as well. So, look, there were some positives to take, not a lot, but some. Wouldn't even fault Ireland for lack of effort. I just think we were beaten by a much better side. France were much better drilled. They knew what they were doing. Their game plan was better. They just deserved to win more. Simple as. They replaced their type five as well, which I like because you get through a lot as a type five. And I've played in the front row, the second row, and in the back row. Second rows get through an awful lot, and it's not very much appreciated. Look at Michael Guillard and Charles Olivant. These two coming off the bench certainly helps. Like when you've got 145 kilos in Miafu and 132 kilos in Montagne. You've got 277 kilos on that side. That's a lot of weight coming down on poor old Michael Milne and Jeremy Lockman, who'd already played 60 minutes. So we'll let him off with losing that scrum, I think. I don't think Lockman or Milne put a foot wrong, really. I thought they did themselves justice. It was a tough ask and they stood up to it. I think they did enough to merit. I mean, they're going to have to be signed because we've got no other options. That's how big our prop crisis is. But I certainly don't think they were any less impressive than Jack Boyle or Paddy McCarthy. Andrew Porter has set the bar very high. Like, he's brilliant. But with the injury crisis, these guys have certainly done themselves proud, Milne and Lockman. And I would be surprised if they didn't start again. Even this carry from the start, Michael Guillard, he did this all day. I think he smashed through Tyke Byrne and John McCarthy in one carry. Here he bumps off Tyke Byrne. Just look at that intent from minute one. And it's not great technique by Tyke Byrne. He's back on his heels. He's falling backwards. So he's just absorbing the tackle, which is kind of symbolic of what Ireland did the whole game. But he gets him down, in fairness. They said he bumped him. He didn't really bump him. It's kind of like absorbing the hit, but he got him down, so in fairness, we'll take it. that man there, deservedly man of the match. I think Matthew Jalibert would have been putting his hand up as well. Just a little hint of a moustache. Nowhere near as good facial hair as Charlotte Yvonne. Don't even try. One hell of a beard. Like lineup has been an area where we've struggled, but here you'll just see that it was quite good. Like we worked quite well. Our set piece was good. It was just the fact the backs couldn't use it, which I think should worry us even more. That's a good line out, good lift, good catch. France don't even compete, and we get going with it. And now I'm glad I found more highlights because looking at this, France, yes, they're in a flat line, but this is a great pass. Prendergast takes it here. We've got all these men attacking from deep. Like, look who we have. Stuart McCluskey's here. Then we've got Caleb Darrows, Josh Van der Fleer, Gary Ringrose. Tommy O'Brien could take another line here. This is the area now. And like I did say, and I was quite harsh on Sam Prendergast, but I also sang his praises when he was good, like that ankle tap on Louis Barry, which I thought was a good effort on his part. I thought that kick was fine. I didn't mind him fly hacking the ball. I thought it was the best decision given where we were on the field. And I think France would have gotten a 50-22 as well. So probably the right decision. And in a split second, you've got to make those decisions. So I think he made the right one. It's his general play like this. And I say general because he needs to be the general dictating where we play on the pitch. Do you remember when I was talking about France chipping it over the top when you've got a line coming up on you? You've got Jean Baptiste Gros, you've got Julian Marchand, Francois Crow, Oscar Jagu. They're all coming up making the hit, chipping it behind. Why not? There's Teo at the Sogby, you know. So let's count it. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So Thomas Ramos and Louis Barry are back here. Get that ball. Why not chip it into the corner? Once they come up, because they're all coming up in the line, why not get Stockdale even to run up here and put in a crossfield kick? You know, put France on the back foot because Barry is going to be hugging the left touch line, which means Thomas Ramos is the one taking the ball here. Stockdale has good enough pace, so does Jamie Osborne. Or hit the ball up with Big Stew. But give it to him faster. It was just too slow. And that was the problem. And we'll play it on now. France are coming up. Put that ball in front of them and let them charge onto it. You know, we need someone hitting that at pace. See that? So look at that position. We get a good line out, a really good lift, good jump, good throw. We're in France's half. Let's use it. That's perfect, but he delays, he slows it down. The hands aren't quick enough. Even, and I'm looking at Sam Prendergast here, that's Anthony Jalonge and Francois Crow. Now, why not hit that gap yourself or chip the ball in behind? Get these guys chasing onto it. You see how Jalibert turned defensive to attack like that? Chip it in behind. Have someone like Ringrose or Tommy O'Brien who's got gas to burn. Or give it to Stuart McCluskey. Just hit him up. Let him hit that gap. He slows it down so much and allows France to get right up in our faces. McCluskey lives and breathes this stuff. He always manages to get his hands free as well. So if he gets through that gap, perfect. Or we could even go wide. We've got Jacob Stockdale hugging the touchline. Atasogby has left his wing, which means there's space out wide. Throw the ball in behind to Tommy O'Brien. O'Brien comes around, hits that gap at space. Hits that gap at speed, and then you've got Osborne, and you've also got Jacob Stockdale. Jamie Osborne has pace, so does Stockdale. You could hit Tommy O'Brien out the back, but we do neither. So from a good position, Prendergast slows it down way too much. See, this is when the ball actually leaves his hands. France are up in our faces and they've shut us down already. Just too indecisive. Show you that gap again. Yeah, look at that gap. That ball needs to go. Don't know, was it too slippy and he had to regather it again, but your handling should be better than that. Get the ball out quick, and we just truck it up. But he didn't. He juggled the ball too much, and France were in our faces. Still, give it. And there's a dominant hit, Stuart McCluskey, and we get knocked past the halfway line. It's just not quick enough. That's the difference between what we were doing and what France were doing. Jalibert got the ball into his hands, thought they're coming up in a strong, hard line together, chip it off the top. Not indecisive, knew exactly what he was doing. And you see how slow it is here, and we get shut down at the source. McCluskey gets shut down immediately. And we've three men in that ruck, and France are now attacking it. Slow ball for Gibson Park, and the continuity has just gone way, way down. Slow ball for Gibson Park. Now we've got four men at that breakdown, five if you include Gibson Park. France have one man gone for the jackal, Francois Crow, and then Jalonch rolls out. So they've got more men on their feet waiting to make a tackle, whereas we have to commit five men to one breakdown. Just let's look how slow that is. So I was talking about the speed of the French ruck. So Prendergast gets it here, double pumps. McCluskey gets hit here, so we see 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Two minutes and 8 seconds. So now we've got 6 seconds have gone. Yeah, about 8 seconds. So we go from a really good position. Now we've taken 8 or 9 seconds in the ruck. And we've committed so many men to it. It's really slow and it's very easy to defend. All these big French forwards are getting a nice rest because we're slowing it down so much. Still hasn't gone. The kick's taking place, so it's taken far too long. That was a good catch by B.L. Barry, in fairness. Thought O'Brien might have come down with it before, but he won it well. Looked like a potential knock on, in fairness. Now, do you see how France used this? So they're put under defensive pressure. B.L. Barry gets it. He catches it, goes to ground. And now 5 seconds later, and they're ready to use it, despite us coming in and putting loads of pressure on them. This is a good picture here. I prefer seeing our forwards near the ruck in the tight play. That's where they should be. Same with France, Aldegari, Francois Crow, Anthony Jalonch, Jean-Baptiste Gros. That's where they should be. You don't want your forwards having to chase wide all the time and sprint after backs because that's knackering. And we make them do it far too often. Dupont gives it to Guillard and makes a big carry. Sucks in two defenders. There's a latch there as well from Jalonch. Or sorry, it's Jean-Baptiste Gros. They've committed about four men to that breakdown. So now we're in a good position. We just stand off. Jean-Baptiste Gros has gone in. So's Aldegari and Marchand. Guillard's on the floor. Fan out. We've got enough men. We're good. This is a good position for us now, in fairness. They've got another fella into the ruck now. Jalonch. Five men. So we're good in this area. See how France weren't looking to catch the ball either because it was slippy. They weren't good in the air necessarily at catching, but they were batting it back so they could get on the ball in the end, which is clever from them. Because why waste energy trying to catch the ball when it's a greasy pitch? Just try and slap it back and then you win it. And that's what Adesogby does, even against Stockdale. Geez. And now it's broken play, which France thrive on, because we're scattered all over the pitch. We're all over the place. And now they just decide to crash it up. They're having the time of their lives. Once the game gets chaotic, France thrive. That's a loose pass, but look how Ramos recycles it. And then they get it out to Mo Fana. Bielbarré is on the move as well, and they're just attacking us. They straight up, and they get right at us. This now, dubious whether this was a forward pass or not, but he shouldn't get his hands free. There's two men after tackling him there. He should not get his hands free, and yet he does. And it's not good. We should have wrapped him up there. Like, you look at it. That's the perfect scenario for us. Ball bounces, so we're actually fine. That's Kane Prendergast coming across. But Mo Fana fights through that. That does look forward now, I have to say. I thought it when it was live, and I thought it there. But look how Ramos straightens, commits the defender. Kane Prendergast, in fairness, comes across well. Ringrose makes a good hit initially, but then that's Kane Prendergast. That's your blindside flanker. He shouldn't be powering through two players. That's two like that. And then he pops it up. It looks a bit dubious now. It looked like it was forward, but referee called flat. Like, look at that. They're falling over. Mo Fana, he's powerful, but he's not the biggest centre you're ever going to play against. And yet he's managed to burst through two big fellas, Ringrose being one of our best defenders and Prendergast being a big blindside flanker. Gets the arms free. Could be flat. It's definitely not backwards. I will say that much. We actually don't concede here, but look how quick they turn defence into attack with a couple of kicks. One really good kick at bat by Adesogby. France regather and they just look to go wide. And they've got blistering pace, but breaking through tackles far too easily. Then once this man gets in space, of all the forwards you want chasing back, Dan Sheehan is probably one of them. And he chases back very well. Osborne again too slow. Another example of just how he didn't read it well. So Ryan's in a good position here. Mo Fana then commits two players, gets through the tackle. Then that means Ramos is attacking. O'Brien and Shane have to cover back. O'Brien is taken out because he has to commit to the tackle. And now we're on the back foot, well and truly. And Osborne needs to go up quicker. He's too slow getting there. Yeah, he's too slow to react. And I think that's because his natural position is not fullback, He's a centre filling in a fullback and has filled in on the wing as well, in fairness to him. But he's just kind of coming across too slowly, whereas he should just be sprinting, boot that out, do whatever you have to dive on it. But he doesn't either. And luckily, Charles Olivon spills the ball. Prendergast puts him under enough pressure again, in fairness, just to make him spill the ball. Spill the beans. No. Like here, we should be fine. He should not get through that gap. He even comes back into Kane Prendergast, who can put a shoulder into him. But he gets through far too easily and then gets his hands free, and Ramos attacks that space. Tommy O'Brien has to commit. Ball goes to Louis Bielbarré, and they're in behind. Prendergast is here as well. You think we're fine in this position. We actually look perfectly fine. Like, look at Prendergast here. Look at Osborne. We should be absolutely fine. But we get undone so easily. Osborne needs to be more aware of this. Now the offload comes in. Now Osborne needs to kind of come up and be ready if the kick comes in behind, or he needs to make a defensive tackle. He's too far back here and not quick enough to react. But I will admit that Bielbury is one of the quickest players I've ever seen. We've seen this in Detroit. Yeah. Make sure I'm not showing you anything I've already shown you. Oh yeah, here we are. This is another aspect of the French game. So they go wide, so they throw it out wide, expansive rugby, but then they pop it back inside just to drive defenders. So Jalibert takes it here, and they're near the touch line, so he decides to pop it back inside. Ramos just takes the ball in. Sometimes just take it in, drag in defenders. Look at Jalonch as well, latching, making sure that he's right there with his man, so he's cleaning out that ruck fast. He's there. Remember, I was talking about illegal clearouts, croc rolls, and also making contact at the head. By doing a latch, you're already there with your man, so you're latching, and you're already there to clean out. Doris falls over, Van der Fleer is sucked in, and we've committed 3 men to this breakdown. Slow ball, and they just go through the phases. Guillard getting through a mountain of work. But here, what's impressive about Guillard, I don't know how he gets into that position. Look how straight the legs are, and then how low Lockman is. But what he manages to do here is get the arms free, keep the ball alive. And that's what France are really good at doing. See how he gets out of the tackle. He's taking 2 defenders with him, and he gets his hands free to Jalonch. Oscar Jegu. Look at the hands there. Like, that was actually a really good read, but really good hands by Francois Crowe. Like, that should be a dominant hit. And in fairness, it's a good read, but good hands. Gets to Jalibert, who gives a really good pass out the back. Like, look at that. Catches Prendergast in no man's land. He could have probably gone into that gap because poor Thomas Clarkson getting caught out again. And they should have scored here. Deporter, you thought they were in for all money. Prendergast actually does really well, makes the intercept, and denies my man at a Sogby a try. But he gets his try in the end. But he makes a good raid, intercepts that pass, and then I don't know what he was doing here. He carried the ball back over his dead ball line, which you'll see now. Thought Deporter should have just straightened up because it's Stuart McCluskey covering across, who's, he's a big man, he's heavier for a centre. I thought he should have just straightened up and gone to the gap. He did here. Osborne made a good tackle, and Prendergast actually made a really good raid initially, but then I don't know what on earth he was doing, taking it over his own goal line. He did really well. But look at this. Turn around. Turn around. Round. He got it here. Just go back. Really good play here. But it's fighting in the tackle. It's getting your hands free so you can offload the ball. That's what Guillard does brilliantly here. And it creates an overlap. Quick hands. It's not hard, it's actually, they've worked on this really well. They've obviously just been enjoying their rugby. They enjoy playing it. They enjoy playing together. This is stuff you can't coach, quick hands and everything. You can't drill this into a player. You just practice it, keep practicing. Get your hands good by throwing it to someone, getting the hands, going through the hands as fast as you can. That's what the All Blacks do, and that's why they're so enjoyable to watch. Fights in the tackle, gets the arms free. Jegu throws it to Crowe, who gets it out to Jalibert. And Jalibert hits a brilliant skip pass. Like, that's not an easy pass. Like, look at it there. Mo Fan is actually shielded with is what the screen is, but Deporter has to run onto that, and he does it brilliantly. That range of pass is so good. Prendergast gets it here. Just turn around, hack the ball downfield. Don't know what he's doing here. Like, he's still well outside his goal line. Like, I don't think Anasogby is strong enough to drag him all the way over the goal line. turn around and just go. He doesn't, I don't know what he's thinking. He decides to run back over his own dead ball line into his in goal area and give France a scroll. And that's what Matthew Jalibert scores from. Like, why would you do that? And then he ships it on to Tommy O'Brien and just completely throws him under the bus. You know, like, why would you do that? You've done the hard part. Turn. Looks like Adesogbi's about to fall over as well. Just turn and go. There's nobody ahead of you, but he decides to run back towards his own dead ball area and then puts Tommy O'Brien under an enormous amount of pressure, who knocks it on in goal. Oh, nearly. And Johnny Bear scores. Too easy. So poor defence by Prendergast, poor read in the first place. He actually did well to get the ball and intercept, but then he ran towards his own try line. Then gave a hospital pass to Tommy O'Brien, who just about touched down in the in goal area. Had Prendergast caught the ball and turned, there was acres of space ahead of him. If he didn't back his own pace, he could have just kicked the ball through, fly hack it downfield. But he gave a 5 yard scrum instead, shipped the blame onto somebody else, and then failed to make the tackle. He backed up the error by failing to make a tackle. In case you want to see it again, here it is. Like, look at that. Just T-pose, like he's on the crucifix. Look at that. That's both his arms out wide. Tommy O'Brien, in fairness, doesn't cover himself in glory either. He has to come in around here and make a rip shot, get under the ball. That's just such a weak tackle. Back with the bang. Yeah, you're never going to make a dominant hit like that. Really poor read by O'Brien and Prendergast. But look, how do you ever hope to make a good, strong tackle like that? Just a turnstile, as people were saying. Or, speed bump. He just ghosts past him so easily. Yeah. And Hugh Cahill said it. You got to make a hit there. Absolutely. So see what Dupont does as well. Really clever here. So while Ty Burns complaining to the ref and tapping people, Dupont says there's a gap. I'm going to keep the defenders honest. What that means basically is I want to make sure the pillars are doing their job. So if the pillars aren't paying attention, I'm going through the middle of the ruck. It's probably the easiest place to defend. But if you're not switched on, and this man, Jeremy Lockman, and a couple of Munster players got singled out, Ollie Jaeger as well, for not defending the pillar. A quick scrum half, like say Cam Roygard, for instance, is very good at snipe. Antoine Dupont is as well. What he also does is he picks it up, scans to see who's paying attention and who's not, and then he also draws in a defender. So you'll see what I mean now. So we've got quite good numbers at the breakdown. We're fine here, but Ty Burns starts getting involved in the ruck, gets sucked in. So Dupont says, I'm going for that gap. Watch, when Ty Burns commits, Dupont says, I'm going to take you on then. His hands are up in the air, he's not ready, and Dupont steps back and makes a couple of very easy yards. Look at that. Very easy. And the clear out was so quick. They're right over it. And the French usually don't like clear now. They like quick ball, but here, very well done. And then that looked like it could have been a knock on if I'm being perfectly honest, but they get a penalty from this anyway. Good hit. And then look at this, an absolute brain fart by Joe McCarthy. The referee is watching. He comes in, so obviously by this, like from the side. If you were to show someone who doesn't understand rugby what in from the side means, this would be it, because it can be confusing sometimes. Not in this case. Joe McCarthy has made it so obvious for the ref. Like, look where he comes in. I do think that could have been a knock on though. But he just sprints in from a distance, right in from the side, and makes it so easy for the ref. I don't know what he's thinking. Like, look where he comes in. Not good. Head case stuff is what you called it. I don't think necessarily that was a yellow card, but it was stupid. It was criminal. And then they get the penalty. So look at this solid hit by Gayard as well. Not only doing the attacking stuff, but what he has to do is defensive side of the game. Josh Van der Fleer is a quick man, but he makes such a good hit on him and makes him knock the ball into touch. Like, he's got the head down and he's a fast man, but really good hit. And this is what I want to show as well. The ball's knocked on into touch from Ireland until we're on the attack. Jalibert sees that we're not set because we've just been on attack. And when you're on attack transition into defence, that is the most difficult period. That's why a lot of teams score tries on the counter, because we've just been attacking, so our line is completely different to if we were defending. So you're diagonal when you're attacking because you need to be behind the man because you can't throw the ball forward. When you're defending, you want to have a nice flat line up together and everybody evenly spaced like that, if you can. So Jalibert, instead of taking the line out, which I feel like Ireland would have done, we normally take the line out and do our set piece. We score a lot of points off set piece, and that's been a key to our game for a while. But this is something that we just don't have in our game. Jalibert says, feck it. Ireland have just attacked. Now they have to transition into defence, which means they're going to be tired. Now, he hasn't obviously thought that far ahead, but he's just saying what's in front of him and playing it. He gets it and he throws it. And now France are on the attack. Look at him instantly. His thought are get the ball across the field to the teammate. Because look how bunched we are. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He sees all that space, all the bunched Irish players. Look how far apart we are as well. We're in a circle. We're like a candy cane shape. So why not? Just play it to your back three. Attack. Jouer, jouer, jouer. And now Ramos takes it on. Look how quick the backline transition. They're all ready to go instantly. And now we've got players trying to scurry across and panicking. It's just very tiring. France conserve energy so well. And look how Ramos straightens up. And now they've got 3 players sprinting onto this. We're backpedaling and we're struggling to get back. And now the ball goes to Deporter, who bashes through our defence. Like, this was a really powerful carry. It's not the biggest man, but this was a really impressive carry. Look at it here. And now they work it back in field, so they've gone from near the touchline to working it back in. Shalanish just takes it in. And that's the thing. Some carries are not meant to do much, but you're just taking the ball in, sucking in the defenders. And this is where they get their try. Because, and this is actually probably a good thing to show. So look, Jalibert has made 2 brilliant decisions. I think he's an excellent player. Unfairly traded by Galtier, who is a brilliant manager, I will say. But I showed a video last time when Jamie Osborne made a dominant hit on Damien Pennell when he caught the ball just outside his 22. Osborne made a dominant hit. Maxime Luku, the scrum half, who looks like a hitman, I think, he was the only one rucking. So this man, Thomas Ramos, didn't wait around. He said, okay, my scrum half is in the ruck. I'll pick the ball up and I'll go down the blindside channel. And then France piled in over the ruck and transitioned from defence into attack. They won the ball back. Their forwards dominated. Francois Crowe, once again, being brilliant. Emmanuel Miafu getting the ball, throwing a really good pass to Damien Penaud, who just sprinted through. And bear in mind that he'd just taken part in a catch a few moments previously. But watch how France turn. So they're backpedaling here. We're on the up. This is a good position for us to be in. Van der Fleer could probably tuck it under his left arm and then make more yards, but Guillard puts in a great hit. Your second row having to backpedal your loose head prop, Charles Olivon, your other second row. Not the ideal scenario, but Jalibert doesn't hang around waiting. He just throws the pass. He just says, Ireland are in disarray right now. They're all over the place. They can't be getting shaped. I'm going to throw a pass, and Tomo Ramos will do the rest. So while that's quite chaotic, throwing it into open play, it's clever, it's smart, because now France backs have all the pace. The French backs have the pace. They have the space as well, the space and the pace. And we're all bunched. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players. And look how these lads really align. They align so well to put themselves into attacking positions. And we're just kind of shuffling across. And they're all straightening up as well so they can hit that line directly. Detmartin made a brilliant carry. Not in this play, I thought it was, but my God, it was some carry. And now Bielbury is smart. He doesn't try and run down the line because he's run out of space. So what he does instead is he says, I'll cut back inside and play it to my pal Anthony here. Who just takes a carry in here to settle the nerves. So they've gone from chaotic to settled and balanced like that, which is really impressive. They know when to calm it down and when to blitz. Now, Tyke Burns slows this ruck down. So instead of being chaotic, France are actually quite slow now. We've actually managed to, tame them. Remember I talked about it earlier, really slow ruck. We're all well set. Jalibert immediately identifies this and he chips over the top. Then kind of spills it back. Crowe picks it up. Brilliant pass by Jean-Baptiste Crowe. Great pass by Guillard, and Olivon does the rest. Brilliant play, in fairness. Excellent. That pass is just incredible by a loose-head prop. He floats it brilliantly. Look where it is. If I'm saying that, I'm thinking, yes, I'm charging into that space. Olivon doesn't run back. He keeps running his line. Guillard catches up with him. And he finishes off brilliantly. Weighs up his options, gives the eyes, so he's looking. That's actually another important point there. Look at Guillard's eyes. See how he's staring directly in front, so he's fixed the man. And now he looks last second. Osborne's caught no man's land. Big Stew can't get back. And we're done for. See again, they kept batting it backwards. They weren't actually going for the catch. They didn't waste any time or energy trying to catch a wet, slippery ball. They just kept trying to bat the ball back, which was clever. And as I said, we did that very well all game. Just to highlight there previously, Jalibert has done 2 brilliant bits of play in that move. The quick line out, which was genius, and then the chip off the top. I thought he had an excellent game. I thought he was unlucky not to get man of the match, but Michael Guillard definitely deserved. But think Jalibert went unappreciated when he had some moments of absolute genius. But here, like, France were batting the ball back the whole game. So what I would have liked to have seen was us being ready to receive it. We should put someone here waiting to hit, because if we don't touch the ball, it's not offside. We should be ready to go and to put the hit in on the French players once they regather it, because they weren't trying to catch it. They were trying to bat the thing back, which is smart. Don't knock it on. Intentionally bat it backwards. In fairness to Doris, he reacts quite well here. But look, when they get it here, you know where that ball's going. They're just so clever with it every time they get it. Good carry by Jalibert into Stu McCluskey. That ball could have gone, but it was a smart decision by Jalibert just to take it into contact. He could have whipped it out to Barry, but he thought, no, let's set it down, let's keep it. I thought it was probably the wise decision. We're going backwards and they're shooting up, so instead of throwing the obvious pass, Gary Ringrose is closing down the space. So just hold on to it for a second. Then the chip over the top and the rest. Another try. Ramos does well. And Ramos fights so hard to get that toe on the ball, and it might be only a toe, but he gets enough, and the try is scored. Out of absolutely nothing, indeed. Yeah. But from one kick, a box kick, Atasogby bats it backwards. Jalibert then gets the ball from Ramos, takes it into contact. Another chip over the top by Antoine Dupont, and then just a hack kick through by Ramos, and then Biel Barres on the end of it. It's not that difficult, it really isn't. It's quite simple. Like, if we go through how that try was scored, it's actually quite simple, but like, it's a box kick here. It's actually not even the best box kick either. Like, it kind of hangs back. Look how far back it goes. Like, they were further up than that when they had that ruck. So they're actually in a weaker position. That hasn't worked out well for them. They're well behind the gain line here. But Jalibert takes it in. We've actually made up a good few yards considering where we were. It's a slow ruck for France as well. So one slow ruck to another. It was slow the last time, and then it was batted back by Atasogby, then batted back further by Dupont. Jalibert just decided to take it in. They have another slow ruck, one kick over the top, and we're undone. That's really what it comes down to. It was too easy. He just wanted it more. Just wanted it more. Now, we didn't have too many attacks, but look at what happens when we actually get in a good position. Skip pass out the back to Prendergast. What can he do with it? Let's see. He kind of gets caught in two minds about kicking or taking the ball in or passing. He ends up going to Thomas Clarkson. Probably the right decision. He trucks it in. Bit of a high hit there from Miafu now. Not looked at. Look at this. Now, this is a terrible position to be in. These players are eyeing him up. They've got him, Deporter and Antoine Dupont have lined up Doris. Tyke Burns not really an option because he's being lined up as well. Keep mixing up Jegu with Jalonch. Francois Groves covering that space as well. And Adesogbe's up here in the wings. They can't go in wide or he'll just shut them down. And they also have Piotr Movaka over here. In fairness, Prendergast makes a good catch, and then Johnny Bear overcommits to this tackle. And that's not a bad pass. Like, in fairness, what he was given was a bit of a hospital pass. So he gets it out to Stockdale, who finally gets to stretch his legs and does all right. He got into the 22. Like, when he gets the ball in hand, he is good. Some good carries. James Ryan takes it in here. Just going through the phases, like this isn't very complicated stuff. You know, we've taken it into heavy traffic and come out on top. Problem is, we've committed so many men to the breakdown, about three men. They've only one man. Like, look at the French line: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then probably another man in that rook, but that's a good line. Like, that's ideal. You know, you've got one man in behind Ramos if you need him as well. So that's probably perfect. But we go down the short side. Crowley puts in a little chip. And we've driven Adesogbe back. It's not really a great kick, but we've got them in the corner. Biafra was absorbed well, and Tyke Byrne gets in over this. This is one of the jackals I was talking about. Like, it's very hard to get a jackal turnover inside the opposition's 22 because they're usually more on the ball and savvy, you know. They're tighter together, so they're not as disconnected as they would be if they were attacking. So it was even better that he got on the ball here, but that just shows how good Tyke Byrne is, and he did this more than once in the game. Got us into a great position after a very poor kick by Jack Crowley. Like, look at him, he hangs around waiting. And then perfect position, and James Ryan makes a good absorbing tackle, so he pulls Miafu onto the ground, meaning he gets separated from his actual trailer, you know, the truck and trailer sort of thing, or there's a latch, so the latchers get separated, and then that creates the space, and Tyke Byrne just shows how good he is at the jackal. Once there's any sort of space, he's in over it and gets that jackal. And he's in. Perfect position, perfect technique. And that's a position you'll see Tyke Furlong in a lot. Tyke Byrne, sorry, one of the two great Tigers of Irish rugby. That's TADHG, not the other way that the Nordies spell it. Not the same meaning either. That's very hard to get that turnover, but he does it brilliantly and gets us in a good position after Jack Crowley made a poor kick. Now, I have a feeling if that was France, it would have come off because they would have been better prepared for it. They actually go fast here. So this is actually a good pass by Prendergast, but then it just doesn't come off. Conan gives it to McCluskey, who's just not on the same wavelength. He's too close to him. You see him here, he's far too close. If he was a bit further wide, he would have been in for a try and justified his selection. But he's too close, and it's just not good awareness by Ireland. So we'll see it again. When this ball goes out, like, look where we are. Prendergast gets it. You wonder, could he give the ball earlier? If he gives that pass sooner, that's Jack Crowley there. He takes the ball to the line. Then he can hit Jack Coleman, who can go straight into that gap. And if Bielbury jams in, he can give the ball to Nick Timoney. And you've got Tommy O'Brien out there in the wing as well. So you've got so many options. Remember, I was talking about France, and if one player didn't score, another player could score. Like, if Jalibert didn't score a try, he could pop it to Bielbury. or you can give it back to Dupont. There's always so many options here. We butcher our options. Because if you see it here, Prendergast actually makes a good read and subs in two defenders. So when there's something positive to say about him, I will definitely say it. He gives a good pass here and screens it across Gary Ringrose. Conan hits it. McCluskey's just got to hold his width. He's got to stay wide there and get ready to receive the ball. I don't know why he's jamming in. If he just holds his width, he's in for a try. Absolutely, because Bale Barry jams in. It's actually a very poor defensive read by France. And I don't know who that is there, but is that Sugby? I think it might be. He makes a very poor read and comes up too far, looking for the intercept, and gets caught in no man's land. Bale Barry makes the tackle, but we butcher a very simple try scoring opportunity. Like McCluskey, you've just got to wait. I know that he's probably thinking that if Bale Barry gets that, he's gone. That's probably his thought process, but trust your teammate. There's a real lack of trust in your teammates with Ireland, and it costs us for this try. Conan catches this, and if he can just give the ball, catches it, pops it out the back, McCluskey's in for a certain try, and we butcher an easy try. Prendergast, I think, actually does a really good thing here. So when he does something good, I will highlight it. We go fast. Look at France here. So they're out on their feet. They're gasping for air. I think that might be at the Sugby there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think there's another man there, 12. 12 players. They've only got 3 players over here. We should have done it much better. And they're sprinting across. Prendergast makes the right choice. And yeah, it's probably a bit too slow is the only criticism of it, but I think he probably has to give it slower because then he gets the man to run up into the space. Might be Calvin Gorge actually, who shoots up into that space. That pass is actually perfect. And you see that ball goes out here. If McCluskey just holds his width, he's getting that try all day long. But he's too eager, you know, he just has to hold his width. And then we're too slow to react. If Ringrose can get to that quicker, that might be Jamie Osborne out there. If he can give that out to him, then he's in. But we're just too slow. Jalibert puts the pressure on, and the try scoring opportunity is gone. See, now Jalibert's up in his face, and we've butchered an opportunity. We've gone from certain try to backpedaling. Now he's off his feet. Now Clarkson makes the tackle, and we do score a try through some good play. We actually recycle this very well. Clarkson's had 2 big involvements in this, in fairness to him. Poor tackle. Very poor tackle by Jalonch. Look at Crowley there, sucking in the man, getting some depth. Nice depth from Prendergast. Actually, 2 very good raids by Prendergast here. 2 very good passes, and might show what we can use him for in the future to kind of draw the man in and give the ball, give that short pass. You know, the flat ball. He's really good at hitting that. He gave a really good pass for Calvin Nash's try last year. But look at that. That is perfect. I paused it at exactly the right time. 2 of the big men sucked in. McCluskey hits that line hard, does the right thing this time, and then gives a brilliant pass to Timney. All that the Sogby can do is try and put in a last-ditch tackle. McCluskey rides it well and redeems himself by giving a lovely pop pass. Very good. Really good pass. See it here, just how he lines up the 2 big men. Really well played. See how tight they are? I actually was really impressed with this play. So I think there's some glimpses, in fairness, as to how Prendergast can be used. He's very good at taking it to the line and giving that short little pop pass. If we can utilise that with Jack Crowley, that might be a way forward. Andy Farrell, if you're listening. perfectly done, really well timed. And now we've got Timony sprinting through, good offload. McCluskey holds onto it well. He doesn't panic, he carries the ball, which is the main thing. He backs himself. He rides the tackle perfectly and gives a lovely pass. And great footwork by Timony. Like the step, Louis Bale Barry. I don't think we're giving him enough praise for that try. He was brilliant when he came off the bench, added a lot of pace to the team. Really impressed with him. That was really well done. So credit to Sam Prendergast. Sorry. Pardon me, but acid reflux. Stuart McCluskey can't believe his luck. And that man, Jeremy Lockman, still out on the field. Did himself no harm. I thought he was good. Solid enough, not world class, but did enough. Certainly didn't put a foot wrong, I wouldn't say. And Tom Clarkson, two very important carries. And in fairness, like from what I've highlighted, you can see him making an effort to get back. A tight head prop shouldn't have to sprint that much to get back. It's asking a lot of him. You didn't see Aldegheri doing that. Jean Baptiste Gros was only involved in the attacking plays, but he did very well when he got it. But a lovely work try, though, in fairness. And Bernard Jackman made the point there as we stare at Reggie Montagne's ears again. Oh, that looks nasty. Blood in the ear. Ugh. But Prendergast was a bit wider, so he's not the first receiver. That could be an option. So a lot of people are looking at Prendergast at 10 and Crowley at 12. Why not put Crowley in at 10? So he's actually taking the ball to the line, which he seems to do better. And then Prendergast can kind of swoop in behind. Another attacking option, potentially. Rugby Jackal, what do you think? Let me know. Just to highlight again, another really good lineup. Really well worked. France obviously knew it was good, so they stayed down. Got to ground well. And now we get it moving against a big French pack. And at this stage, they've unleashed the bench. So these are the big boys out on the field. We got a good goal forward. McCluskey crashes it up. Another good option again. Look at the yards. He just steamrolls over the top there brilliantly. I think that's Malvana again. That's Sogby. Stogby must be sick of the sight of Stuart McCluskey. Ah, yeah, there he is. Much smaller man, a much bigger fella. That's the sight you want to see, the big man charging through, powering over. And then we get more speed. Milne takes it in. Good carry. Look where he gets the one really good carry in that phase. Look at the French. They're all bunched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All bunched in a condensed, tight space. Once we actually put them under pressure and start getting through our phases, we had them rattled, We just didn't do it enough. Really good carry by James Ryan. Another good carry. And then brilliant hands by Ty Byrne. Drew the man. 2 men, 2 big men, both to the props. Reggie and Rodrigue. Reggie and Rodgie thrown out the back. Really well worked. And that was perfectly done by Ty Byrne. Now you see where he ends up. He took a big hit for his troubles, but he absorbed the tackle and did excellently. Good on that man, Michael Milne. Very happy for him. I always thought he was a good player when he was at Leinster, and then they sold him. And I thought, I hope Munster look after him and play him because he is a very good player and he's come through. Yeah, the bench did give some impact. Perhaps Milne should start next week, and Lockman did enough, but I think off the bench maybe. But our bench definitely gave good impact. Just look at that really good draw by Ty Byrne. He took a big hit for his troubles, but it was well worth it in the end. He absorbs both those massive men hitting him, and then we get a try from it. Well done, Michael Milne. Congratulations, sir. Great try. That man's happy. Now Ugo Oradu does really well, just that desire to win the ball back here. So one time it didn't go well. You just kind of see the desire from Oradu to win the ball over Jack Conan, and he gets it. And now again, Baptiste Serrano's on the pitch, Le Petit General, and they just try and move it. The two big men are gassed already. Lenny, he may not be able to sing, but the boy can play rugby. It's just look at that. Look where we actually made contact with him. He's a big fella. And they've transitioned very well from the lineup. So now they've turned it over. We need to get out. We need to be up there ready to hit him. He gets too much of a run up and he's a big fella. And I remember Prendergast probably has nightmares about him playing him in the under 20 championship. He was running alongside him, kind of palming at him, and he just ran over for a try. But this is a big carry here, like right into the 22. McCluskey's too high, so was Prendergast, and he just kind of steamrolls through them. Like, look how far he gets. Like, look, now they're Jalonch is there at the front going, come with me. Movaka's at the back, and that's Movaka's at the back. And they go from just outside the 22 to right near our 5 metres. They get up to our 5 metre line. Look at that. So that all starts. And that this is post contact meters. So here we've lost it. We should just fan out. You know, we've lost it now. So get back, defend. Nucci gets it from outside of the 22. Good pass by Baptiste Serrano, right on the money there. But look, we're so far back, and then we actually do make contact. So just inside 22, and he powers all the way through to our 5 metre line. Not good enough. That's very weak defending. McCluskey falls off tackle. Jalonch grabs on, latches on, and he gets far too many yards. So you can look at this. Look where he starts. We should have him wrapped up there. Let's say Doris should even come in and just finish it off for good measure. Great leg drive though by Nucci. I wonder if he was going to fall down if Jalonch wasn't there. Prendergast might actually be helping him stand up. But look at that. Oh. And now they get their final try. Actually, no, this isn't it yet, but the ball's on the money from Baptiste Serran to his Bordeaux teammate, Johnny Bear. Takes a good line. Deporter powers over. Like, look, 3 men on him. They've turned the defensive line out in our 22 into an attack in space of 2 minutes. 2 seconds even. Good goal line defence though by Ireland. Yeah, just look at that. That happy man, I just love seeing his face. One pass after they turn over the line out. So a great line of win, one pass, and then the ball goes to Nucci, who powers through, and then Johnny Bear gets it out in front of him, hits Deporter with the ball, and that's quick transitions from defence into attack. That's what makes France so good. Really good carry, great drive by Movaka comes from a distance. Look at that. Now Ireland are backpedaling and on the back foot. That pass by Baptiste Serran is brilliant as well. It's right out in front of Johnny Bear. So if we see it again, right out in front, Johnny Bear can run onto the ball, and then he's got more options, and he's hitting the line at pace. And then he absorbs it, gives a great offload as well to Deporter, who powers through but gets held up. So yeah, really, really good example from the French. Just to highlight how you play heads up rugby, you know. Gotta stop sharing there. So I feel like that's another example. Like I showed it last year, and I felt like it's the same, the same problem. Ireland just have too much of a set play and a way that we're going to play regardless. Whereas France decide, let's play heads up, play what we see and just attack the space. And in the end, it worked for them. So 36-14, my prediction was 37-22 to France. On the plus side, though, Matthew Jalibert and Theo Atasogby scored tries, and I won myself a nice €160 out of €10. So excited to see the rest of the games tomorrow. But yeah, guys, I've done a thorough analysis on why Ireland lost to France, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bit more upbeat content, I hope. Not if you're Irish, but if you're French, allez les bleus. uh, bravo, bravo, very good performance. But yeah, I'm knackered now after that, so I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you want more rugby content. I'm going to try and get it out for the Six Nations. And yeah, that'll do it for this one, guys. Is the future of Irish rugby bleak? Are the French unstoppable? And I'd say they'd probably be a favourite to win the Coupe du Monde, the World Cup next year. So yeah, not looking good for Ireland. We'll have to pick it up if we want to finish anywhere above third. I hope we won't get the wooden spoon, I don't think, but ideally I'd like to beat England and Twickenham, but won't be an easy task. We have to play Italy next, I believe. So please God we win that one. Fingers crossed we get the bonus point win. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Slán go fóill.